Evil Avalon web novel audiobook Chapter 80-98, Chapter 81 Hit Kill Stance. After passing through a desolate hilly area, the group is walking in a group through a pitch-dark forest where the undead are wandering about. Visibility is very poor due to the eerie trees surrounding them, and they are on the lookout for surprise attacks. It's difficult to get lost, because all you have to do is go straight down this road to get to the next 19th floor. Ready, fire. The bowmen, who were accompanied by someone, lined up horizontally and fired arrows with wind attribute all at once. The target was Trent, a tree-shaped monster blocking the road several dozen meters ahead. It is troublesome to approach it because it attacks by squeezing you with its reachable branches, and even if you ignore it, you have to go around it by entering the dark and dangerous forest because it is blocking the middle of the road like this. This is also the reason why there is no end to the number of adventurers who get lost. Even so, Trent's speed of movement is slow, and if he can attack remotely in this way, he is not a formidable opponent. The trunk of the torrent, which was about 1 meter in diameter, was gouged out by a volley of shots and bent with a cracking sound. Judging from the power of the arrows, this team of archers must be well over level 20. Normally, arrows shot at trees would only pierce them, but they easily made a large hole in them. The bow team of the Suo family, right? It's hard to get that many archers, even for a clan. It's hard to train them. According to a mama, who was explaining the situation next to me, it costs a lot of money to raise open black lens bracket archer close black lens bracket. The arrows he was using earlier are not the ordinary ones sold there, but are made by processing mithril alloy to withstand a large load. If he had to shoot those things every time he attacked, there was no way he would be able to earn enough money to cover his expenses in any hunting ground, and he was sure to go broke. Therefore, I hear that in many cases, there are patrons such as nobles and clans behind the archer. On the other hand, if they grow up to be archers, they can be said to be one of the strongest jobs in this level range, so they will be able to acquire a large amount of power and will also be a foil for the organization. Amama-san also says sincerely that she would like to raise a bow unit someday. It's as if a nearby monster was caught by the sound and came over. It's smaller than the demon wolf, but it's significantly faster. Yes, and since it's a spirit, it will walk right through the grass and trees. The sound of the bow and arrow's impact causes the nearby dog-shaped evil spirits, the bar guests, to gather together. As I look to see what they are going to do, a woman dressed in a Miko, shrine maiden, costume breaks through the crowd and steps forward. They are Sarah-san's attendants who belong to the Seiyujo organization. She starts chanting magic in a light, melodic voice. O loving light, peace be upon thee, medium recovery. Since recovery magic works as an attack against spirits and undead, healers can also play the role of attackers in this undead zone. Moreover, since recovery magic can hit even with a rough aim, it is possible to hit fast-moving burglars without any problem. However, the MP efficiency of recovery magic is very low, and the cooled time for reusing it is also long, so it has the disadvantage of not being able to be used frequently. As if to compensate for this, another priestess comes out from behind and casts recovery magic one after another. I wonder what kind of saintly institution can gather that many healers. Can't you ask Sarah-san? We haven't talked much about it, I'll ask her next time. Even the medium recovery, used by the priestess earlier, has the effect of regenerating a tooth or a finger if not much time has passed since it was damaged. Naturally, they are in high demand in the medical field as well, and sometimes surprisingly large sums of money can be spent on them. There is no way that powerful people or criminal organizations would leave such healers alone, and in the past they were kidnapped and imprisoned as human recovery potions, which became a social problem. The Saint Women's Institution was created to protect saints, but it is also a place to protect and nurture healers who are vulnerable to such crimes. In Dun X, episodes related to the CEO organization are only briefly mentioned in the Sarah Kikyo route, and we don't even know what kind of person the CEO is after all. I think Sarah might be able to tell me about her if I asked her, but Amama has never talked to her much about it. I wonder if she is not very good at social interaction. The group continued to walk through the dark forest and reached the 19th floor, one step short of the goal. The 200 meters distance from the stairs connecting the two floors is a safe zone where monsters do not pop up, so this is where they will stay for the night. There are no stores on the 19th floor, even in the entrance plaza, and the facilities are limited to coin lockers and simple toilets. The monsters that pop up in this area are skeleton mages, which are quick bar guests and use high fire magic attacks even though they are spirits, so it is not a good hunting ground. Thanks to this entrance plaza is monopolized by a group of adventurers who have reached the depths. Since we arrived late, each of us immediately started preparing for dinner. I parted ways with Tenma for dinner. It seems that the nobles are very strict about eating at the table even in this dungeon, and their attendants are working hard to set up the table and prepare the food. It seems that many of them eat alone, not while chatting with their friends. I still don't understand many of the habits of the nobility, but I can somehow tell that they value their dignity above all else. I'm going to prepare dinner, too. I took out a stove and a bean-shaped rice bowl from my magic bag, poured in rice and water, and flipped the switch. When the rice is cooked, pour warmed instant curry over it and dinner is ready. Ordinary people don't have to worry about their appearance, so it's nice and easy. While the rice was cooking, I idly wondered what other people were doing. The helpers, who were mainly engaged in fighting, were taking off their protective gear and were diligently taking care of their weapons. Surprisingly, many of them were women, perhaps because they were matching the gender of the nobles who were accompanying them. Other helpers were cooking rice and stirring a large pot. There must be cooks, but I have only seen them cooking for the nobles.
There are also priestesses going around casting purification spells on them.
Purification magic is used to remove debuffs, but it also removes dirt and grime from clothes and body, making it a very useful daily life magic when one cannot take a bath. The reason why healers are not allowed to use this magic, even though there are healers among the helpers, is because it is a hidden magic that has been handed down only to the saintly women's institution. The reason for not disclosing this magic, even though it is not dangerous, is not known, whether it is due to a conflict of interest or to raise the value of the priestesses. The priestesses were applying purification to even the B-class assistants in turn, but they did not apply it to me even though I was waiting for them to do so. I wonder if there is a condition for applying it.
But I already know how to use purification, don't I?
I secretly use purification to keep myself clean. Scrolls are usually sold at Obaba's store, so anyone who can get to the store can learn it without much effort. Incidentally, it seems that this magic also makes the skin beautiful, and the women in my family use it several times a day without fail, even when they have to take a bath.
Speaking of other concerns, well, I don't feel like going to, but I'll give a shout out just in case.
I didn't really intend to call out to them, pretending not to notice them until the end, but I'm not comfortable with being followed and observed all the time. Let's settle this now. There was a girl standing alone at a distance sipping a cup of ramen. She was wearing a hat and sunglasses in spite of the dangerous and dimly lit nighttime map, and was dressed inappropriately in a sweatshirt with some kind of character painted on it and denim shorts. Perhaps she was trying to disguise herself? Hi, it's you, Kuga-san, isn't it? Did you come all the way out here to follow me? She slowly looks up, and when she realizes that it is me who has called out to her, she wrinkles her brow and looks grim. But she doesn't stop sipping her ramen. She has a very strong spirit, or rather, a frighteningly fast pace.
When did you know? You don't know how long I've known.
Even though she was using her covert skills, I thought everyone would have noticed if she had been following them all the time dressed in such a suspiciously Parisian outfit, but no one was suspicious of her even though she had been blending in with the group of helpers and accompanying them for all these days. Could it be that the disguise had an effect, or it is possible that the helpers do not know who is participating? It's brilliant that you don't show any tails, but it's suspicious enough when you are so unconcerned in a deep level like this. I think that could be said of Kuga-san as well. I don't want to be told by someone who is leisurely eating ramen at this stage of the game. Then she asked me why I even was checking behind me for something, but was not able to come up with anything. My sister and parents are about to get to the point where something might come up, but there's nothing behind me. I'm a genuine civilian. Still, she seems to have determined that I am an agent of some country. Through her sunglasses, she stares at me from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. I don't know what she was looking for, but it's not going to reveal anything. So, I'll just ask you directly.
She puts her cup to the side after drinking down to the very last drop and stands up gently, pulling out a dagger from the holder at her waist. She is not planning to fight here, is she?
If you fight in a place like this and stand out, won't Kuga-san get in trouble?
That's only if you have the ability to fight me. It will be over soon, so don't worry.
She turned to me and added, the interrogation may take a long time. I'm just a little curious as to what kind of interrogation this is, but I prefer not to. Gently, if at all. Maybe I'm stronger than you, he says. That's not possible. If I really try, you'll give in a twist. I think she was a rogue at level 24, right?
The rogue, with its abundance of covert and disguise skills, is a concealed job restricted to those who have pledged allegiance to the country or are on special missions, because the damage if misused is immeasurable. This is true not only in Japan but also in the world. The rule of the world seems to be that information that could be dangerous to society is thoroughly controlled by the government.
Kuga-san, the rogue, is of course no ordinary high school girl. She has been in the dungeon since she can remember and has undergone numerous battle trainings. At this point, not even Sarah-san or Amama-san can beat her, and even including the upperclassmen, there is no one stronger than her, well, except for the players. That's how good she is. If you can move faster than me, I'll give you a compliment accelerator. Kuga-san lifts her sunglasses with his index finger and activates it as if muttering to himself. The wind that enhances mobility clings to his feet. The actuality that she is going to use such a skill from the very first move suggests that she's wary of me. The two sides are poised to close the distance between us, and when she reaches a certain distance, Kuga's body shakes to the side, leaving her hat behind. She was aiming for an instantaneous settlement with an attack from a blind spot. If that is the case, then I too will be ready to counterattack with a one-hit kill stance.
I dropped my center of gravity and moved my hand slightly forward. With this, I will end this.
Please forgive me, it's a high-speed kneeling posture. Even Kuga-san is a girl of her age. If a man were to drop all of his pride and get down on his knees in front of her, she would hesitate unbearably. Maybe she would be upset and frightened. But I would use psychological warfare to my advantage, even if I had to be a devil at heart. I'll be shaken and played for a fool. Ow, that hurts. What are you doing? I'm lowering my head unprotected and she stomps on it without hesitation. She twisted my head around. The soles of her shoes are like spikes, so they are very stiff and painful. I wonder if she has the temperament of a queen. I begged her several times to listen to me, but she wouldn't stop groping her feet. It was only after about 10 minutes that she moved her foot away from me, saying she was distracted. Chapter 81 Water and Oil. Well done, sir, as expected of Suo-sama. It was an excellent sword stroke, sir. The bar guest was split into 3 pieces and dissipated in midair, and the magic stone fell to the ground with a clang. Suo had announced early in the morning that he was going for a trial slaying, and his assistants, who had been sleeping, were woken up and made to carry the drums without knowing why. Don't they feel sorry for me? The 3 of us, Amama and Kuga, are watching Suo and the others while sipping tea made by the maid. He's a great swordsman, but his style. The first time I saw him, I thought he was a good swordsman, but there is something strange about his posture. Indeed, as Tenma-san said, the way he used the sword was brilliant. He reads the movement of the attacker and, after a flash, immediately reverses the tip of the blade to slice, a technique like Sabamagashi, which is not something that can be done just by watching and imitating. Suo handles his sword with his right hand only, and uses his left hand to handle his opponent's attacks, a style of swordsmanship that is based on physical strength. This is a popular stance among Dun X players, as it allows for both sword and magic. Since Suo is a wizard who uses swordsmanship, there is nothing strange about his stance, and in fact, it is natural. However, he is considered to be a swordsman by those around him, and he was fighting with only a sword held in his right hand, without using magic and with his left hand idle. Kuga says she feels uncomfortable with that. If you don't know Dun X's tactic of using both sword and magic, it is understandable that you think it is a half-hearted posture. The sword is also quite a thing. I think it's a national treasure. Not worth the minute. Enchanted weapons are generally obtained after the 30th floor, but in Japan, only the 32nd floor has been conquered, and only a handful of people have been able to reach it. The number of available items is also extremely limited. As a result, the transaction price is outrageous. Suo's parents are not only aristocrats, they are also capitalists who control a number of companies. But that doesn't mean that they should be able to buy a high school student something that would be enough to build a mansion. I guess that is just the jealousy of the common people. But I can beat him. I can create any number of opportunities to take advantage of them. I can win. I don't think it's going to be easy for you in E-class, though. Can afford it, and by the way, even you can't beat me. You see, the maid in the back has started to give off a killing vibe, too. The reason why this situation came about goes back to last night, when I was stepped on my head. You said you wanted to form an alliance. Why? You wanted to check me out because you thought there was something behind me. I don't have anything to be guilty about, but if I told them that I was a player and this world was a game, she would just look at me like I was some poor kid with a brain problem. Even if she believed me, it would be a risk for both of us since we haven't established trust. I'm going to ask your body about that secret now. Could you move this leg for a moment? I don't feel comfortable talking to you. I counter with a pleading pose, rubbing my head against the ground, and Kuga-san steps on my head without hesitation. I spent about 10 minutes negotiating on my knees to get her to move her foot away from me so that I could talk to her properly, and finally I was able to raise my head. I was almost bald on the back of my head. Well, what should I start with? The strangely dressed girl who stared at me with a glare was an American intelligence agent, spy, who had entered the adventurers' school under false pretenses about her background and origin in order to gather information related to adventurers in Japan.
The US collects information on Japan partly because Japan and the US do not get along well in this world, but it is not strange for the US to be spying on Japan, as it is done all over the world. Even Japan must be sending spies to countries all over the world to gather information. After all, information on adventurers is the most important factor in national security.
For example, let's say a group of top adventurers like the Colors were to go on a serious rampage in the city. Of course, they would use an artificial magic field device. What would happen? They can lift several hundred kilograms with one hand, run 100 meters in a few seconds, and cut a house in half with their skills. And yet, they are super people for whom bullets have no real effect. The only way to fight these people is to hit them with equal numbers of adventurers, or to shoot them with tank guns and missiles like a hail of bullets. Such a situation in the midst of so many people would be a catastrophe. And the problem is that such things are actually happening all over the world. That is why each country is collecting information on adventurers with great diligence. Which country or organization has the most powerful people, what are their abilities, and what is their ideology? I am sure that Kuga-san collects such information and reports it to his home country. Of course, that is not the only role she is assigned.
She must also have orders to collect a wide range of information on the situation of the clan she is attacking, the training methods of the adventurer school, and the personal information of the students. When she is in a bad mood in the morning, it is a good bet that she has been too busy communicating with the home country to get enough sleep. Forming an alliance with such a Kuga-san does not mean that we will be in a cooperative relationship like Lisa and Satsuki. It is a proposal to be accomplices, to help each other and create an alibi for situations in school life that are difficult to handle solo.
The key factor is whether or not you are trustworthy and available. But you know, this time you left the class competition on your own, didn't you? It might make things easier, but what is your goal? What am I after? Of course there is. It is to deal with the event called Kuga's Rebellion. If you get close to Kuga-san and advance the main storyline, you will enter a scenario where she betray the organization and become one of the main character's friends. At that time, some dangerous people from the US come to Japan for a purge, and if they are intercepted, this area, including the adventurers' school, will become a war zone and be completely destroyed. There is no way to resolve the situation through discussion, so if we take the Kuga route, this catastrophic future is almost inevitable. On the other hand, if Kuga-san is left unattended without being captured, raising favorability, she will become a dangerous enemy character who will do anything, including assassination, espionage, and sabotage. However, it will take time to find her with her full of covert skills, during which time she will make destruction everywhere, and our route will also be severely damaged. The quickest way to prevent either of these outcomes is to kill Kuga-san right now, but it's too risky for me right now, and above all, I definitely don't want to take such a hardline approach. The girl in front of me is a tragic heroine. Born an orphan, put in a dungeon and beaten into fighting since she can remember, she has become a machine who has never known happiness. She has had such a harsh childhood that she could not survive otherwise without being cold-hearted. However, she suddenly finds a chance to be with the main character, learns about love, and overcomes her past and reality to become a strong person who can give hope to many people. The climactic scene cannot be told without tears, and is ranked among the best scenes in Dun X. There is no way to get rid of her like that. If you are a player who loves Dun X, there is no other choice but to save her. Yes, I want to save her. So the answer is, your smile.
Creepy. I managed to cover it up with a smile that made even the usually bold and unafraid Kuga-san take a step back, and so I decided to change the subject.
Anyway, I think it's a good deal to join forces, even if it's only for a short period of time. I feel like I'm being talked out of it, but I know you don't want to fight, but I will continue my investigation. Kuga-san says she can't leave empty-handed and will continue her observations right beside me, but there was no way I could say, I'll add another E-class student from the 19th floor. And after a night of pondering to solve this issue. The next morning, in other words, about an hour ago from now, I consulted with Tenma-san surrounded by black clothes and asked him if he could mix Kuga-san into the butler's group as her direct guard. The maid, who is the head butler, was staring at me as if I were her enemy and opposed me, but since her master, Tenma-san, said yes, I was able to force her to go along with me. Everything went as planned. The case was settled, but it didn't work out that way. You know you're our personal servant now, how can you behave like that?
I'm just being honest that I'm stronger. Kuga-san, who is not bothered by this, says that she was just stating the obvious, and Amama-san glares at her with a, listen here you little. The butlers observing in the distance are also fidgeting. I wish she would read the air a little more. Well, there's no way you're stronger than me. I'll forgive you and treat it as a funny joke.
Not only the B-class nobles, but even the A-class nobles tend to look down on the common people, but Amama is generous and patient, and she looks everyone in the eye when she speaks to them. She is a rare aristocrat indeed. But I don't remember making any jokes. Once again, she made a remark without reading the atmosphere, and a tense atmosphere enveloped the place. I could only shiver quietly as I imagined the journey that awaited me in front of the two of them, who were like water and oil. Chapter 82 Current Status of E-Class 2 Naoto Tachiki's Point of View. It is the fourth day of the class competition. The class performance data just announced in the morning was imported into the terminal, and the current status of the top and E-classes were listed to summarize the first half of the competition. As it turns out, we are far behind and in last place at this point. Moreover, we are trailing behind Class D. As the days go by, the test sites for the interclass competition are moving deeper and deeper into the hierarchy. The fifth floor has already become the main battlefield for our designated quests, and we are losing time fighting orcs and goblins of higher levels and are unable to move freely. The E-class, with its low average level, will be at an increasing disadvantage in the future. That is why we wanted a score equal to or better than the D-class by this fourth day, but looking at the data we have not reached our goal at all, and the situation is so dire that we want to turn away from the situation in some categories. The data at hand shows that we did not reach our goal at all. According to Mishima's report, we should have killed a certain number of monsters and earned a certain number of points, but the gap between us and the higher classes has not narrowed at all. I thought Karya-kun was leading the group to defeat the designated monsters in Class D. It's amazing that they surpassed Class C. It was thanks to the calm and collected Nita that I was able to keep my composure in the midst of this severe and almost hopeless battle. I can only express my gratitude, but let's leave that aside. I thought that the D-class was going to gather the elite including Karya at the depths of the battle, but they decided to attack the designated monster on Mishima Island. Karya's ability to defeat Yuma was extraordinary, and it was understandable that he was able to go toe-to-toe with his C-class counterparts. However, it was extremely painful that the event in which the elite of the E-class was gathered was destroyed. What should be done to minimize this impact? The monsters on the 7th floor will be included in Mishima and his team's designated monsters to be defeated starting tomorrow. If there is little hope of catching up with the D-class, I wonder if it would be better to have them move on to support the total magic stone amount. If Mishima and his team had been defeating monsters on the 6th floor at a very fast pace, they might be able to continue the hunt even on the 7th floor. However, the 7th floor is a forest map with poor visibility, and the demon wolves are easily linked to the 7th floor. There is a huge difference in the difficulty of hunting between the 6th and 7th floors.
Even if they were to push forward with the hunt, knowing the risks involved, the chances of catching up to the D-class led by Karya were infinitesimally low. Then, as Nita said, it would be better to abandon the designated monsters and bet on other events. This decision would be humiliating for Mishima and his team, but they had no choice but to take it for the sake of the class.
I'll let Mishima know on my end. Next, Yuma and his team reached the designated point, but it was also hopeless. There were even some injured. In addition, it has just been confirmed that a D-class helper is supporting this event. I guess he was taking on a monster after all. In the event of competing in the order of arrival to the designated point, the D-class has repeatedly improved its position at a speed that is hard to believe that it is defeating the monsters in its path. Yuma investigated, believing that there must surely be an underlying reason, and found a scene where several people, who appeared to be from the same clan, were helping them. He also sent us a photo of these assistants. The sun symbol on his chest, I'm pretty sure it's Sorrel. Sorrel, and also, look at this picture that Kaworu sent me. This is the guy. Yesterday, there was an incident where a group of people in Sakura were attacked by an orc road train. Kaworu sent me this photo of the person who was supposedly leading that train. Comparing the photo with the one Yuma sent earlier, we can see that the man is dressed differently, but his facial and hair features match. Although it is impossible to be certain because of the blurriness of the picture due to the fact that it was taken while the train was running, there is a very high possibility that it is the same person. I knew it. Does this mean that yesterday's train was artificially bumped? It is natural to think so. Train itself is not unusual. The place where the Sakura and the others were is more than 2 kilometers away from the area where the orc lords appear and disappear. Even if they were to flee, would they be able to bring the train such a long distance? What in the world was the Sorrel man who was leading the train doing in that place, away from the D-class, the target of his support? It is hard to imagine that he went to the orc road room by accident and made the train. No matter how you look at it, he brought them there on purpose to bump them. Intentional train is also a felony punishable by jail time as malicious attempted murder. This is common knowledge that anyone is taught when qualifying as an adventurer, and there is no way that someone who belongs to a strategy clan could be unaware of this. Yesterday, dozens of orcs were unleashed in front of Sakura and her friends, and if they had been unlucky, or even if they had been normal, there would have been a death toll. It was an unforgivable act. But they would go that far at this stage. Maybe it was unexpected. I wonder if something happened. Should I report this picture? Well, there was no damage, and I think it will be very difficult to pursue the matter, don't you? It is true that there was no damage, but that was because the helpers came at the right time. I wanted to punish him somehow, but if there was no damage, there was a possibility that I would not be able to make a case. Should I avoid wasting my time? Then there is the question of what to do about this person who helped us. She appears to be a small woman wearing a wooden mask and a tattered leather cloak, but judging from the speed with which she eliminates orcs, she is at least level 10, and possibly even level 15, according to Kaworu. Kaworu's assessment is that she is at least level 10, and possibly even level 15. However, even if the person is standing nearby, her presence is extremely weak, and there are even reports that if you take your eyes off her, you can't even tell where she is. It is highly possible that she is using some kind of skill or magic item. Perhaps she is an adventurer belonging to some unit or a well-known strategy clan. Either way, it seems certain that she is no ordinary adventurer.
I heard that she is an acquaintance of yours.
She came to help us on the condition that we don't pry into her identity, so it's a secret musical note. TL. Those who don't know who the mysterious girl is, I pity you. Nita's guard was tight despite her loose atmosphere, and she wouldn't let us get any information. The fact that she came to watch over us makes us feel safer, but there's too much waste to let her continue to play around. Besides, even if we win Class D with the help of our helpers, Class A is just like a dream come true. Gosh, did you read my thoughts? But Nita may be right. I found out after the actual fight that there was a difference in ability between the D class led by Carria and the A class. Even if Sorrel had not come to help, it would have been difficult to win. Even if they had won with the help of the assistants, their position would have been nothing more than a house built on sand, as though they had no real ability. But that does not mean that we should give up on this test. Even if we do not win, if we can avenge a defeat, it will be a hope that leads to the next step. That is what we, who are despised as inferior, need the most. We can still do it, can't we? Of course we can. Even if Yuma, Mishima, and the others fail, we still have a way to make a breakthrough.
We have to admit the failure of Yuma and Mashima's group, which was the pillar of the original operation. No matter what strategy we devised, these two groups would not be able to turn the tables on us. However, there was one thing that went unexpectedly well. As a result of the train, we were able to obtain a large amount of level 6 magic stones.
Normally, it would have taken the entire group a whole day to collect that many magic stones. Even though we had run into some danger, there was no way we could not make the most of it. Fortunately, no one was injured and we were told that we could continue collecting magic stones, so it would be very worthwhile to have Mishima and his team as support.
Our designated quests are also biting the D class so far. This is because Nita has been doing a divine job of predicting and anticipating the contents of the quests. I don't know what the rules are for the school's designated quests, but if we continue to follow her advice and accumulate points efficiently, we should have a good chance of winning.
I feel like I'm forgetting something else, but that's okay. As soon as we finish breakfast, let's get ready for the next one.
Yes, but I wonder how far Sota is planning to go.
There are only 3 days left. The best way to do this is to do everything we can to win the D class. Chapter 83 Current Status of E-Class 3, Kaworu Hayes' Point of View. Sakura, how are the members? We've just settled down a bit, but they are scared of the floor where Orc Lord is, so he decided to go back to the 4th floor. So, Sakura's group got caught in a huge train. Even though all the members were miraculously safe, the fear remained. If they are exposed to the killing intent of a monster stronger than them all at once, it will be difficult to continue the hunt without incident afterwards. Some people become stronger when they are forced into a situation where they have to prepare for death, but most people shrink back in fear. The train had created such a desperate situation. If we had to go back to the 4th floor, we would lose efficiency in collecting magic stones, but it would have to be done. First, we would have to take some time to gain some confidence and pray for a comeback.
We will continue to hunt on the 5th floor for a while, now that we have a helper.
Yes, but that person. No, I understand. If you need anything, please contact me immediately. Let's work hard for the win. Yes, and Sakura, too. I finish my regular morning contact and hang up the call. It will be tough to bring the group back together again once it has folded, but I'm sure the wise and kind Sakura will handle it well without mishandling the situation. That being said, who is that person? A small adventurer sitting right next to Ms. Omiya, as if cuddling up to her. She was unimaginably skilled in battle from his unimpressive, plain clothes and slender, fragile appearance. She told me that Omiya-san had invited her, but how did Omiya get acquainted with such a talented person? I still vividly remember how yesterday's train started and how it converged. We went to that place as if we were invited and encountered a monster train of dozens of monsters led by an orc lord. That's when I saw Sakura and her group in the distance, scattered and fleeing. Hey-san, I'm counting on you to take care of everyone.
Saying that, Omiya-san pulled out her dagger and ran out into that place. She made an immediate decision in this emergency. I was so upset that I couldn't move, but I could feel the difference in his ability as a leader. But now was not the time to worry about that.
Everyone, this way. I must rush in as soon as I finish guiding the evacuation. She was a level 5 girl, but it would be all she could do to lure some of the orcs away. This is where I need to jump in with determination and attract the orc lords. Otherwise, that thing cannot be stopped. I quickly gather the group members and instruct them to head straight for the entrance plaza in one mass. I also tell them to report what happened here to both the school and the Adventurers Guild. This is to prevent further damage. Next, we need to send circumstantial evidence of a monster train to the help center, so we activate the camera on our arm terminal as we start running. That man whom Orc Road is chasing with bloodshot eyes is probably the one who created the train. He is likely to be a liability and we must not let him get away.
As I was taking some pictures, I saw Omiya-san rushing toward Orc at a very fast pace. The armored orcs that make up the majority of the train are special higher-level individuals summoned by the Orc Lords, and are said to be stronger than the demon wolves on the 6th floor. And yet, she was surrounded by them and they were trying to kill her, but she was not afraid, she was not intimidated, and she was cutting them down one after another.
She is fearless, unafraid, and cuts them down one after the other. She ducks under the nose of an orc's sword and flashes her dagger in a flash as she passes by. The orcs around him also noticed the attack from behind, and with a yell, they rushed in, raising their swords one after the other. There were more than a dozen of them. She dodges the numerous sword fights, maintaining a favorable distance, and calmly counters one by one with his amazingly calm movements. In dungeon battles, the absolute theory is to challenge a single monster with a large number of allies. There is no way she is accustomed to fighting against an overwhelming majority, and yet, she was able to put up such a fight at the last minute when lives were on the line. I, too, could not have imitated that. After I finished taking the necessary pictures, I pulled out my sword and tried to follow behind the train to reduce the number of orcs as much as possible, but I saw one of my classmates crouching in front of me in fear. The Orc Lord is closing in on them, right up to their very doorstep. The Orc Lord, with an evil smile on his face, spreads an aura, filled with murderous intent. It is a monster that only a first-rate adventurer would be able to face, let alone confront. How many adventurers have been broken by this monster and buried by it? I shuddered even though I was tens of meters away from it. Would I really be able to face it? Even so, I must go. If I don't go, she will die soon. I put life into my trembling legs, clenched my teeth, and started to run. Omiya-san, who was engaged in a battle with several of them, must have noticed the danger to her classmate and tried to force her way through the middle of the monster train. But the Orc Lord is already right in front of the child, raising his huge club. I can't get there in time. What in the world just happened? Suddenly, Orc Lord's huge body bursts out of the air with a dull thud, spinning in midair. It was blown up to a rock wall about 10 meters away and crashed into it. There it turned into a magical stone. Without a moment's pause, the orcs in the surrounding area were either blown away or chopped to pieces one after another, just like the Orc Lord. If you look closely, you can see a black shadow moving around at high speed in the middle of the group of orcs. The orcs did not seem to understand what was happening so close to them, and were extremely agitated and shocked. The shadow were not concerned, as it continued its relentless pursuit, and in less than a minute, every last one of the dozens of orcs had been eliminated. In less than a minute, leaving only a small adventurer wearing a mask and a dark cloak standing alone. I cowered in disbelief at the sight of her overwhelming power, but she was not an enemy. The evidence was there. I'm glad you're here, thanks. Omiya-san ran straight to greet and embrace the masked adventurer with a smile. The adventurer also hugged her, so they must have a friendly relationship. Dozens of magical stones glittered at its feet, making the hell that had just been there seem like a mirage. That was the whole story of what happened yesterday. It was almost a catastrophe, but thanks to Omiya-san and that helper, we were all safe. Looking back, the monsters being hunted may have been a trap to lure us to that place. The man who was leading the train had run away, but I was able to take pictures of the evidence, so I sent the data to Naoto with a report on the situation and left the decision to him. What should I do to report about that man? The masked adventurer who saved us from danger is in a corner of the rest area, huddled shoulder to shoulder with Omiya-san, eating sweets in a friendly manner. She is wearing a mask and an old robe that covers her entire body, so I can only judge from her physique, but she is probably a woman. At a glance, she looks about the age of a junior high school student, and since she is wearing only black leather armor and small hands under her robe, demon wolf protective gear, I don't feel that she is strong at all. Even so, it is neither a dream nor an illusion that she easily blew away a huge orc lord, cut down a high-ranking individual orc with a single blow, and destroyed dozens of huge trains in the blink of an eye.
She is such a powerful person, but if you don't try to look for her, you won't know if she is right in front of you or not. Everything is so haphazard that one can't read her true identity at all. I wonder if that armor is made by a magical wolf, but in fact, it contains a powerful force.
I was introduced as a helper invited by Ms. Omiya, so I exchanged a few words with her to say hello, but she turned away and ignored me. Maybe she is shyer than I thought. She is a member of Anti-Kaworu, and the mystery is also with Omiya-san. She must be hiding something, at least. Even though she may not be as strong as the masked adventurer, her movements and speed at that moment were not those of a level 5. It was enough to convince me that she was even better than Yuma, who is said to be the strongest in our class. I wonder why she was hiding such power. I know that she is a person of character who is sincere and amiable to everyone and gets along well with Sota, even though we do not talk much in the classroom. So, I believe that I can trust Ms. Omiya and the masked adventurer she has called upon. And if there is something wrong, we can pursue it later. For now, we just have to get through the class competition as best we can. Also, that masked adventurer. Sometimes she stares at me, but I don't know why. Chapter 84 The Saint and the Great Satan. So, Hano-chan came to see me at the very last minute. I'm here again today. I was in group chat with Satsuki and Hanano, who is still wearing her mask. In a cheerful voice she tells us what happened yesterday, but the content is serious. Have you made it to the train?
The total magic stone amount group that Pink-chan was in was attacked by train. Anyone should be able to predict what would happen if you hit a group with an average level of less than 5 with an orc road.
At first, when the helpers came to help the high school students with their examinations, we thought they would keep it to the level of harassment. This was because that's what they did in the game. But what they have done is MPK, or attempted murder. What is an adult doing to a high school student who is working hard to prepare for the future? Then there is the man in this photo, the one who led the train that Lisa sent, who looks familiar. The man who slashed Hanano's leg on the 7th floor some time ago. There is no doubt that Sorrel is behind this. I never thought he would attack one of our classmates. Is he thinking that he can do such a vicious thing and not cause any damage to Sorrel or the upper group? Or is he thinking that he can do whatever he wants as long as there is no evidence? In any case, now that they have gone this far, they will not get away with it. In other words, a clan like this, which has no moral compass and is nothing but harmful, must be destroyed as soon as possible.
I had planned to destroy Sorrel sooner or later, but there was no telling what it would do during this test if left unchecked. Should I put a guard on the targeted total magic stone amount group? I should probably turn back as soon as I get to the 20th floor too. Hanano, just when you have time. I'd like you to watch over Satsuki and the others. Oh, okay, but why are you struggling in such a shallow level when you are a student of the adventurer school? The reason is that, unlike your brother, they can't make full use of your game knowledge. And well, I'm not going to say that.
Let me know as soon as you have any more problems.
Yeah, be careful too, Sota. Hanano, be careful not to let Kaworu know who you are. Don't worry, it seems totally fine. She seems to be insensitive.
Sighing with a sigh. I cut off the communication. What's wrong with me? I've never been this far in the game, no matter what route I took. I wonder what has changed.
I stumbled back to the rest stop with my head in a quandary.
You're late, you son of a bitch. The maid, the head of the Amama family black butler, glared at me with her fist in the air, saying, if you keep the lady waiting, I'm going to have to chastise you. Normally, she is a neat and gentle lady, but when Amama is not around, she curses at us mercilessly. It made me tingle with fear.
When I looked at her, I saw that Amama had already finished her lunch and was being polished all over her full plate mail by the butlers in preparation for her departure. The light reflected diffusely and was dazzling, probably because they were scrubbing it until it was shiny and clean, not wanting to miss a single stain or scratch. Meanwhile, Kuga-san, the butler version, who was chomping on a rice ball at some distance from us, was looking at us with grim eyes.
Where have you been? I thought you ran away. I didn't run away or anything, not in a dungeon like this.
This is the 19th floor of the dungeon. The dungeon is an abandoned map lined with old brick buildings. There are many blind spots, and it is also a dangerous level where skeleton mages, skeleton archers, and other monsters that use flying weapons pop up in large numbers. If one walk around without any long-range attack countermeasures, one might end up in a beehive.
Then let's get going. Kurosaki, please ward me.
Yes, ma'am. After the maid bowed reverently, she held a pot-like magical device in her hand and pressed a switch labeled, Heaven, a product of the Tenma Trading Company, perhaps. A few seconds later, a translucent dome-like wall appeared. This is a magic tool with anti-missile magic that prevents a certain amount of long-distance attacks.
The presence or absence of this magic tool can greatly change the difficulty of the dangerous 19th floor traffic in particular. If you are an individual, using stealth skills may be enough, but with a group as large as this, it is impossible to do so. If you are coming with a party, this is a must-have item. Since the size of this ward could not cover the entire group, including helpers, the A and B classes were separated and moved separately.
Amama-sama, if you will excuse us. Sarah-san, along with her cronies, nobles, and helpers, entered the ward, her silver hair shining in the air. She is showing no signs of fatigue even though it is his 4th day in the dungeon, and she is wearing the same radiant smile she wore when she first entered the dungeon.
However, even on this floor, she wears no protective gear and remains in her uniform. Perhaps they are not allowed to wear that, which is designated as a national treasure in Japan. With so many helpers, it seems unlikely that she will have the chance to fight.
Sarah-san still seems to like to talk, and she talks to everyone and anyone, but she never talks to me. The reason is that I am not in her line of sight, or perhaps it is because I have been judged as hopelessly unpromising by the Tenkan Dori, Heaven's Eye view. The heroine I've admired for so many years is no longer taking me seriously at all, and I feel like I'm going to fall or frustrated by this sad and lonely feeling.
But I'm sure Kaworu hasn't sexually harassed even once since she entered high school, so I am very curious as to why I would be expelled from school. Could it be that no matter what I do, the future main story will remain the same? So, what about Kurosaki saying that Narumi-kun is a beast, a sexual beast?
What do you think? I think he is a beast, but I can't rule out the possibility that he is a sexual beast.
The next to me are Amama and Kuga, who are talking to me in a friendly manner, so I thought I would feel better, but they are having some kind of a disturbing conversation. I know you don't want me around, but please don't try to make me out to be a sexual predator who likes sneaking around to find women to prey on. To change my mood, I walk around looking at the scenery around me. This level is a circular structure with a diameter of about 1 kilometer, and the map is narrower than the previous levels. However, the amount of information is very large, as there are many abandoned brick houses spread out in various places. If people lived here, it would be a city of 50,000 to 100,000 people, but now it is a desolate, dead city with only the undead. If one look at the center of the city, one can see a huge building with several sharp towers sticking out of the ground. It is a Gothic-style castle nearly 100 meters high. Inside that castle is our destination, the 20th floor. The entire interior of the castle is a safe zone. The interior is richly decorated with detailed carvings and colorful stained glass windows, and was one of the tourist attractions during the Dun X era. It's been a long time since I've been to Devil's Castle. It's the first time for both of you, right? Of course it's my first time. I've never been to Devil's Castle either, but why it's called Devil's Castle? Of course I'll say I've never been there. It's my first time in this body, so I'm not lying. I remember that the castle was also named Devil's Castle. Well, what was the reason? I'm not sure, but it's a special place where the saint made a legend in the olden days. I'm very interested in that. The entrance to the dungeon appeared in Japan shortly after the Taisho era, 1912 to 1926. When it first appeared, there were very few people who went inside, and records show that only 4 adventurers continued to conquer the dungeon. One of them was a saint. The dungeon dives they were engaged in were different from those of us who just dove in and efficiently killed monsters. To conquer a level that no one has ever been in before is the same as defeating vicious floor bosses without any information. For example, the floor boss on the 5th floor is an orc lord, which is now just a hidden boss, but if we had to fight him without any information or strategy at all, how difficult would it be? Even if we try to raise our level, we will not be able to go on to the next level without defeating the floor boss, so of course one will not be able to raise your level sufficiently. In such a situation, it is a continuous battle to the death just to advance one level. What they were doing was similar to a strategy clan's attack on a new tier, but they had been doing it with only 4 people for a long time. It was nothing short of daredevilry. Time passed, and it was shortly after the war.
The post-war period in this world does not mean that Japan has been devastated because it has not fought a decisive battle on the mainland. In fact, the energy industry was booming thanks to the special demand for magical stone energy. During this period of economic growth, the Japanese government sought more magic stones and resources and promoted the 20th floor strategy. The results were disastrous. The governments, baby clans, were half destroyed one after another and many of the promising youngsters lost their jobs. The government had taken the liberty of bringing back a retired saint party to attack the front lines as a backup plan.
The stage was that castle, and inside was the famous Great Satan.
It is strange that only 4 people were sent to the castle when the whole clan could not win the battle. It is possible that the information is being manipulated.
If they were having such a hard time, they could have called additional excellent helpers besides the saint party, but why only 4? There are several possible reasons.
For example, they did not want anyone to know about the confidential information of the saintly women party because it was so outrageous. Or they just wanted to advertise the saints' achievements without mentioning that they had called in helpers. Or maybe it was because they thought that adventurers other than the four of them were nothing more than a liability. Anyway, that Saint Party successfully defeated the great demon and became a legend. The four of them are still revered by many adventurers today for that reason.
I wish I could have seen what kind of a great demon it was, but there won't be any more of them. Why do you say it won't appear again? Once you beat a floor boss, you don't get to see him again. There are some exceptions, such as the Orc Lord though.
The 20th floor is currently an area with only a large passageway and a hall, with no monsters popping up, including floor bosses. There is a big door at the end of the passageway, and if you go through it, you can get to the 21st floor, which is the tropical map. As we were talking about how to look around the Devil's Castle and eat snacks there, suddenly there was a lot of noise ahead of us. It seems that skeleton riders have attacked the B-class group.
It's amazing, isn't it? How could they catch that spearhead on? A skeleton-shaped monster, astride a horse made of nothing but bones, rushes forward at a speed of about 70 kilometers per hour with a huge lance at the ready. The impact of receiving that much kinetic energy, even though it is only bones, must be considerable, but you can see that the B-class helpers who can pull it off are also reasonably competent.
As soon as the tank catches and kills the movement, the heavy knight squad surrounds it without pause and moves into sack-pounding mode. The skeleton riders have a weakness in that they are mounted and cannot turn small, but they have the height to thrust their lances at you from a position looking up, and the bone horses below also bite and kick at you, so even if you are not in front of them, you cannot lose your mind.
The tanks are used to this, however, and they gather hate well to fix their targets, and attackers also hit them one after another with weapon skills. In a short time, the skeleton rider sank and turned into a demon stone. On the way, they were attacked several times by a group of skeleton mages and skeleton archers, but the archer and priestess troops shot recovery magic and arrows in return from within the safe warding and took care of them in no time. Even though the 19th floor was a dangerous map, with such a strong force, they were able to kill them in the blink of an eye. After that, we continued to walk toward the center of the ruins, fighting off the undead. The map is so small, however, that within an hour, the destination is already in front of us.
The towers are so high that one can look up at them, and their shapes are complex. The walls are covered with carvings of ritualistic figures and cuneiform-like patterns. Up close, it looks more like a cathedral than a castle.
There is a huge iron gate in front, and the 20th floor is just beyond the gate. Shall I be your guide to the holy place? Suo, who had arrived earlier, walks out with a disproportionate smile on his face. When this guy has such a fresh look on his face, it's definitely when he's up to something. Well, what's more going to happen now?
Chapter 85 sounds. Why don't the three of us, Sarah Dono, and Amama Dono, go first? We could happen to see something wonderful. With the goal, Devil's Castle, in front of us, we were discussing who would go in first. The first person to enter the castle is the one who will be the first to take most risks and rewards. While they were bickering about who was first, Suo suggested that only representatives of the class should enter it first.
He said that the reason he included Amama as a representative was because she was the student who represented the first year as the runner-up in her grade. From another perspective, she is a talented student whom Suo recognizes.
However, Amama-san said something unnecessary like, "If I qualify as a class representative, then so do you, Narumi. It is true that I am also a representative of my class, but I don't want to be simply forced to do something troublesome." I was thinking about how I should say no to her, but before I can retort.
If he's going, I'm going too, and Kuga-san started to complain. Oh well, it's fine. Suo easily allows the addition of 2 outsiders. I'm sure he's planning something, but I wonder if he thought that me and Kuga-san wouldn't be an obstacle in the execution of his plan. Please reconsider, Sarasama. You forgot about our junior high school days, didn't you? I'm sure you're up to something very bad. There are not only Suo-sama over there, and Amama-sama is here too. What is there to be so afraid of? The nobles and priestesses of the Sarah clan tried to warn her, but Sarah-san seemed to have no intention of listening to them. She is a person who hates constraints and does as Aichi pleases at all times, so her guards must have a hard time keeping her in line, but she is also a lovely free spirit. Still, I agree that there is no way Suo would go out of his way to take on the role of a guide. Even if he was planning something, what could he do alone?
For example, he might have assassins waiting for us inside this castle. Or maybe he has some kind of dangerous trap set for us. Or maybe he is resurrecting some legendary great demon. However, no matter how much they may be rivals, the Sarah family is the heir to a marquisate and heir to a saint. Suo will not get off scot-free if he has harmed such a person. Is it too much to worry about Suo's conspiracy?
Then, Suo-san, please escort me, it will be my pleasure. Then let's go together. Narumi-kun. As I was thinking about this and that, I was grabbed by the small hand of the plate mail and escorted out. Well, I don't think anything I say here is going to change things. Suo and Sarah lead the way. Next, I, Amama, and Kuga enter the castle side by side. Passing through the overly decorated entrance hall, we found an entrance hall dazzlingly illuminated by chandeliers, with large doors on either side. Entering the door on the left leads to the 21st floor, where a tropical forest spreads out, but Suo urges us not to go that way but to open the door on the right to enter.
Beyond the door was a huge hall that occupied most of the castle. The ceiling was very high, with large stained glass windows on both sides. The warm light shining in created a sacred atmosphere. A huge pipe organ is placed at the far end of the hall, suggesting that the hall was used for religious purposes like a cathedral, not a castle.
And this hall is the stage where the saint and the great devil fought. I used to beg great old lady to tell about the battle here. Miss Sarah said, looking around with deep emotion. The great old lady was a saintly woman, who must have been her great-grandmother. The battle to the death between the demon and her great-grandmother, who is said to be the founder of Japanese adventurers, and the great demon, who had buried many clan leaders, is still a legend that is passed down to this day. I was very interested in the story when I was a child. We were talking on the road about how only 4 of them managed to defeat such a bad opponent. I didn't hear that, but it was always the 4 of them when Grandma fought, and I think it was easier for her to do it that way.
Because they were trusted companions, they could leave their backs in peace. In a game, it is easy to want to increase the number of players to increase the strength of the battle, but in an actual fight for your life, the element of trust is something that cannot be ignored.
Well, that seems like a convenience, too.
I think the reason is that they didn't want their hidden skills and job characteristics to be seen. The very existence of the saint itself is a special secret, but the job of the saint is also to learn badass magic such as wide area recovery and reviving the dead, and you never know what might happen if the world finds out about such things. The Japanese government must have been very careful about information management.
Suo also tells the information he knows like a story. The true identity of the great demon is said to be a strong ogre-type monster over 5 meters tall, wielding 6 arms with amazing strength. When its HP is reduced, the demon's body is enveloped in blue flames, and its attack and defense capabilities increase dramatically, making it untouchable by anyone but a true warrior. There are only a few who survived seeing the great demon, and many of them have broken their spirits due to the horrific battle. They say they had a hard time gathering accurate information, but the correct answer is, they are not the ones who survived the battle.
It was a macho lesser demon with 4 arms that used magic fighting techniques.
The lesser demon is a monster classified as a lower-level demon. Even though it is a lower-level demon, many of the demons in Dunax are powerful and have a lot of skills as well as physical and magical abilities, so it is very troublesome to defeat them. Moreover, the demon in this room was a special demon floor boss. Compared to other floor bosses, it was much more difficult to defeat. That is why I am amazed that Saint accepted the request to defeat such a monster. If I were asked to take on a monster that no one had been able to beat, even at the government's request, I would have run away. On the other hand, Kuga-san was looking at the pipe organ in the back of the hall with great interest. She was trying to press the keys on the organ's many tiers of keys, but nothing was sounding. The huge pipes on the top of the organ are all in good condition and do not look broken, but I am not familiar with their structure, so I have no idea what they look like. Amama-san seems to be interested in the organ and is peering at the keys and foot keys. I wonder how this organ makes sound. Maybe the blower in the back is broken. No, they say it's not broken. Suo interrupts Amama and the other's conversation with a low chuckle. What's so funny? He seems to know something.
I heard that this instrument can only play music when it is used to fight a great demon.
With the great devil? But you can't listen to it because it won't be playing anymore.
What kind of trick is it? Suo said amusedly that it is a clever instrument that plays background music for boss battles. Kuga-san became more and more interested in it and started to touch it by pulling and pushing here and there. It would be very expensive to break a pipe organ of this size, but the dungeon has a repair function, so there is no problem. Amama-san is in a depressed pose, saying, I can't listen to it anymore.
No, you can listen to it, can't you? But you said earlier that you can't hear it unless the archdevil comes out. So why don't I just call the archdevil again? As everyone tilted their heads to see what he was talking about, Suo pulled out a thick book from his bag. The surface of the book is covered with blood vessels and pulsating, and a tar-like aura is leaking out. The appearance of this grotesque item, beyond eerie, destroys the atmosphere that had been so harmonious until a moment ago. I see, this is what he was planning. What are you going to do? You can't be serious. Since we've come all this way, I'd really like to see the archdevil. Kuga-san lowered himself to warn the others. Sarah-san seemed to recognize that book and backed away in surprise, and Amama-san just scurried around. Suo's smile deepened as if he thought it was funny. That book is definitely the Book of Summoning Demons. It was probably used to summon the lesser demon, the floor boss here. The book was originally added to the game through an update, and in order to obtain it, one must go through a series of tedious steps and complete a special quest in the DLC area. I had thought it was impossible to obtain without knowledge of the game, but perhaps Tsukishima-kun taught it to you? The only thing I can think of is that it's a bluff to call it. The room will be locked once you invoke it, and you will be forced to fight. What the hell is he thinking?
When the book is held up, the pulsation grows louder and louder, and it opens by itself, and something black flies out from inside and lands on the stone floor. Then a huge hexagram, a hexagram of triangles and inverted triangles, was drawn on the spot, glowing reddish black. The summoning magic circle was activated. Sensing that the summoning of a great demon was certain, Sarah and Kuga immediately tried to leave the room, but they were unable to do so. When the magic was poured into the book, the trigger for the summoning of the demon was pulled and all entrances and exits were sealed off. That's why the clan that lost the battle against him was almost annihilated.
At the same time, the pipe organ in the back of the front hall started to move by itself, and apocalyptic music, a mixture of sadness and madness, played at a loud volume. It was a suitable background music for the boss stage, but for those who were actually there, it was more than that. It's wonderful music that is better than what one can hear. Now, it's time for the legendary Great Devil to appear. This is the first time I've seen him too. Perhaps too excited to speak, Suo opened his eyes and, with his hands outstretched like a player, he announced the summoning of the demon in a high-pitched voice. With a vibration, a large goat head slowly grows out from the center of the magic circle, followed by a reddish-black muscular upper body and 4 unbalanced thick arms. Then comes the sharply pointed tail, like an arrow, indicating the demon tribe.
At approximately 4 meters tall, it stands tall enough to be seen from above. The compound eyes glaring at us make us understand that it is an existence that humans will never be able to understand. The glimpse we get is of a treacherous, unrelenting desire to devour life.
Well, what are we going to do now? The monster level is 25, and it is a demonic floor boss with many special skills, so it is stronger than the number. I wonder if I have to participate in the battle after all. But I can't be serious in front of such a strong group of people. What are you going to do by calling this thing? Even the usually mild-mannered Sarah-san and Amama-san were very upset by this irresponsible behavior. I'm naturally upset too. I wonder how is he going to deal with this thing he called in, and if he has any good countermeasures. I guess we can count on him, can't we? The great demon has 4 arms, didn't he? Oh my, this looks powerful. Well then, now that we have had a look at it, I think I will leave you. If the 4 of you defeat it, you will become legends on par with the saints. I wish you the best of luck. TL. He ran. Suo took out a transparent pebble from his chest and put magic power into it. Well, 2 of the 4 of you are inferior class trash though, he said, and then he was enveloped in light and disappeared just like that. Chapter 86 My First Friend. A legendary great demon said to have been defeated by the saint. With the figure before him, Suo took a pebble from his chest and disappeared in a light. He just summoned the demon and took off without doing anything. He ran away. Sarah-san was upset, holding her mouth with her hands and losing her composure, and Amama-san was angry, stomping her foot on the ground because of his irresponsible behavior. It's very refreshing to see heroines like them angry, which I don't usually see. No, this is not the time to talk about that.
What Suo used just now is an escape item with eject magic in it, also known as a return stone. It has the effect of directly warping to the outside of the dungeon, and in this world where lives are at stake, it is a must-have item. It is not something that can be used casually, however, as it costs enough to buy a house with just one.
Sota Narumi, how long can you fight? Kuga-san, quickly putting on a protector and carrying a dagger, asks me what I can do. The actual battle with a strong enemy is inevitable now. She is probably thinking about increasing her survival rate as much as possible. However, it is easy to imagine that if I show her my abilities, it will be incredibly troublesome. The lesser demon emerges completely from the magic circle and slowly examines whose life it is going to grind to a pulp, licking its tongue. A poisonous aura envelops the place, and the once pure and sacred space is transformed into a heavy hell catastrophe. There is no time to worry anymore.
As expected, only Amama-sama and I cannot fight against something like that. I am sorry, but...
What is that? Damn, I should have known you had it. She takes out a clear pebble from around her neck. She is the heiress of a great noble family, a woman of rare talent and good looks, and has been chosen as the successor to the saint. It would be a small price to pay for her family to provide her with that level of insurance. You should not hesitate to use it. I feel sorry for those two, but that is also fate. You should also save your life and think about your house first. Now if you'll excuse me. She passed her magic power while squeezing it, and just like Suo, she was enveloped in light and disappeared. In such a desperate situation, it is foolish to put your life on the line for a classmate who is not a very good friend and is only an acquaintance. And if you were the heir to a noble family, as she said, it's perfectly understandable to put your family first and live your life as you choose. I'd rather want to run away as soon as possible too. The situation couldn't be worse. It is coming. 2 of them left and there were only 3 of us left. The lesser demon, not wanting to let anyone else escape, rushed forward with a ground-shaking sound and attempted to swing its large fist at them. Amama-san intervened, using her large 2-handed axe as a shield to catch it. She was holding back his massive fist with her feet right in front of me. A faint red open double angle bracket aura closed double angle bracket is leaking out, indicating that she is activating her unique skill open double angle bracket monstrous power closed double angle bracket. The supernatural power, open double angle bracket monstrous power closed double angle bracket, which she obtained by being loved by a spirit and receiving a blessing curse. It is the root of the power that made her the next in line. While it has the effect of greatly increasing her physical abilities, it is also a tragic skill that causes her to grow old and ugly. I'm grateful to her for using it to help me, but why isn't she using the escape items? I can only hold out for just a little while, so find out if there's any way to get out of this room.
TL, respect for the real deal. The lesser demon swung its 4 thick arms around like a storm and struck wildly. The red demon tries to withstand the barrage of blows by relying on its monstrous strength, but it is unable to cope with the sheer speed and power of the blows and is blown away. The momentum didn't stop, and it crashed into a wall, bouncing over and over again. Don't push yourself too hard, Amama-san. Don't worry about us, feel free to use the escape items.
I don't want to. You're the first friend I've ever made, and I'm never going to abandon you. After being knocked down several times, Amama rises to her feet, shouting as if to inspire herself, and challenges again. She didn't care that her armor was damaged, dented, and bleeding. It's hard to imagine since she was so jovial in front of me, but I remember she had been treated like a tumor since junior high school and had been a recluse for a long time. That's why she chose live up in that armor. Well, but, the things she said makes me happy. She called me a friend, even though I was treated as a dropout and shunned by the school, and she even risked her life to stand up to a legendary demon. I can tell from her desperate appearance that she really means what she says. I couldn't help but be moved. I'm feeling a little more motivated now. Kuga-san, on the other hand, slashed at the lesser demon's legs with the school's rental knife in her hand, but did little damage. The thick, hard epidermis and the fact that his regeneration skill was working meant that there was practically no damage. I guess it would be different if she used a stronger weapon or attacked seriously, but she can't take a big step while the lesser demon's hate is not stable. But if Kuga-san is willing to fight, I might not have to give it all up either. From the looks of it, I guess what those two need is a good tank. I get it, then I'll take over as tank. I'll leave the attacks to you too. Narumi, don't be reckless. The reckless one is Amama. If she had tried to escape, she could have done it right away with the escape items. But Ship still didn't abandon me and risked his life for me. I would release a little bit of my power too.
I took out a black hand of pure mithril from my magic bag and quickly put it on. I had no plans to use it, but I had no choice but to take out a long sword of pure mithril that had not yet been plated. The first thing I shall do is to strip away the hate that had been directed at Amama.
Decapitator, over here, open double angle bracket elicited howl, close double angle bracket. A loud roar and shockwave emanates from my mouth. It's a provocation skill that forcibly takes the target's hate with it. I knew I couldn't start tanking without it. The lesser demon, which had been giving Amama a barrage of blows, spun around and ran toward me as if pulled by a magnet. He didn't seem to understand why I had caught his attention either. That skill is from Empire, I knew it.
What did you do? I heard that knight is a secret job in some country, but I think it's okay to show at least this much. I wonder if we can work something out if we get down on our knees to stop talking later. Also, I don't have enough power to get through an attack on this guy. So one more. Let's go for it. Flame arms. As I activated my skill by spreading my arms out, a red snake-like aura clings to my arms. This is a buff skill learned by Warrior, and has the effect of increasing STR by 30%. Even with this skill, the numerical value is not yet at a level where it is possible to fight with him, but it should be enough to pass him off.
I hope both of you will not hesitate to increase your firepower. I will fix the target at me by all costs. The lesser demon was hit by the provocation skill and annoyingly tried to swing its fist down at us. Not wanting to be taken seriously, I evaded by circling to the side and slashing at it with my mithril sword when I find an opening. For the time being, we should repeat these actions, using the provocation skill every cool second, and think first about fixing the target. I don't know what it is, but it works, then we'll go for it too.
Quote. Amama-san, who decided that I could take the weight and play the role of tank, spins her huge axe around and slams it into the target with great force. Thanks to her monstrous strength, the firepower of a single hit is tremendous, and it leaves a number of deep scars on the epidermis, which boasts a high level of defensive strength, and chops away the HP. It seems that her melee firepower, which she boasts as the strongest in the school year, is not a fluke.
Kuga-san is also passing damage even though she is not using her attack skill. The blue-white glowing dagger in her hand seems to be enchanted with a magic that increases its cutting power.
Gwogia, the lesser demon roars and swings its arm wildly at me. The reason for this is that he can't hit me with his fists as much as he wants to, and on top of that, he's getting really frustrated because he's getting hit from behind with a lot of attacks. In an attempt to break the deadlock, he takes a skill motion stance with his chest turned outward.
A dazzling blue aura overflows from all four arms, and the fists swing with a roar. Narumi, run, you're in danger. I'm fine, but stay away from me. The lesser demon swings its forearms with a long reach at high speed, and it is usually difficult to avoid all of them. However, if you stay in close contact with it without fear and take a position to go around it, you will almost never be hit by it. If you are not heavily armed and have a strong STR muscular strength, the basic tank strategy should be the same.
However, the attack skill he is about to use covers not only mid-range but also close range, so there is no blind spot. I cannot use the evasive maneuver of turning around, and if he takes it seriously, I will not escape damage. If one were to fight him for the first time, one would probably have a hard time.
But I'm not a first-timer. In Dun X, it was possible to challenge a particular floor boss multiple times by accepting special quests. There was a limitation that the level of the boss was equal to his level, but I challenged him countless times in my gaming days because of the tasty items I received from him. By the way, I even have a record for the time attack record for killing this guy solo. I know how much damage it will do and what it will do when it takes damage, and I know what skill it will use when I see the pause right after it launches the skill, so it's easy to get the right timing. In the case of this attack skill, the first move is a swing down from the upper arm, so it is best to keep your body out of the path and counter calmly. As in the game, when you see both arms swing down with a yell, you should move your center of gravity in advance to avoid it. After that, he will duck a series of 2 thrusts and then throw a flash. Next comes a punch to the side from the left direction, so I turn to the right and hit him with a triple slash from my one-handed sword skill open double angle bracket vorpal thrust close double angle bracket while circling behind him. A wild scream is heard, but once activated, the monster's weapon skill does not stop.
As the uppercut comes swinging up from below, I cancels my earlier weapon skill hardness with a backstep and places a slash in the path of the arm that is about to swing away, cutting it off from the elbow and beyond. Finally, with one arm missing, it jumps up into the air and strikes me with a fall, so I just have to stay away from the fall and watch.
That was awesome. What's going on? What the hell is going on?
Single quote ... No, I saw it all. It looked like a move that knew what was coming.
As expected of Kuga-san, did she see the shift in the center of gravity? You're absolutely right, but in reality, I don't have that much leeway. Before the fight, I thought I could handle the lesser demon on my own, and I wanted everyone to get the hell out of there, but I'm so glad we were able to fight together. Even though I knew I wouldn't be hit, there was no way I would be okay with a roaring fist swinging at me right under my nose. Even though he was a familiar foe, if I had had a prolonged battle with him, my spirits would have been sapped and my accident rate would have skyrocketed. Thanks to the two attackers, I was able to concentrate on evasion. I am so grateful to them. Gravel and dust were thrown up by the falling lesser demon, and at the same time, deafening grunts echoed through the air. At the point where it fell, the 4-meter-high body was twisting and rolling around. Blood gushed from the arm that had been cut off, but it would be completely repaired in a few dozen seconds due to his regeneration skills. But for now, he is crouched defenseless. There was no way I could miss out on this precious time to beat him up. Not yet. Hit him. Ehehe. Orya. I won't hold back. Open double angle bracket double sting close double angle bracket.
Amama-san jumps at him with a large two-handed axe raised and takes the opportunity to smash him to pieces. Each swing generated a creaking whirlwind, chipping away at his HP. I was a little taken back by the firepower, which was beyond my imagination. On the other hand, Kuga-san, waving her dagger arm at high speed, activates her skills as if she is scratching. It is both reliable and terrifying that he continues to cut at the vital points, looking for more effective places.
However, the HP of the floor boss is enormous, and even after inflicting this much damage, there must still be almost half of it left. And if its remaining HP gets low, it will go insane. We have to be careful and make sure we take care of it, even so. You did a great job earlier, meat. Give me the meat. Give me this corner too. With those two reliable people, I feel like I can do it without any trouble. Chapter 87 Aurora's Apostle, Kuga Katona's point of view. I was not prepared for anything, but the floor boss, the great demon, was summoned. It may be just a prank to Suo, but I can't even escape from here because I don't have any escape items. The fact that escape items are not something that common people can afford, I guess he decided that if you are not a nobleman, it doesn't matter if you die or not. This is why an anachronistic aristocratic nation is so annoying. However, no amount of whining will change the situation. If there is no way out, we must fight with determination. I have seen a video of the floor boss on this floor in my home country. It was a demon race called the Lesser Demon, and the recommended minimum force required was 18 combat-trained level 20 fighters. In fact, I recall that even with that strength, the odds of winning were as low as 50 to 50. And yet, there were only 4 of us here, myself, Sota Narumi, Armored Woman, and a saint-like woman. They all seem to have a level of nearly 20, but they are all spoiled little boys and girls. It was almost as if they had been raised through power leveling. It is difficult to consider them as equal in strength to the skilled soldiers of my home country, who have gone through numerous trials in mortal combat and pushed themselves to the limit, even if one looks at them with favor. Among them, the saint girl, who had been expected to be at the top of the class, also left early. It is only a matter of time before the same aristocrat, armor girl, also uses escape items. If that happens, Sota Narumi and I will be the only 2 people left. I wonder if that man will be able to use his powers skillfully. If I do it right, I might even be able to get it to going insane on my own, but that's as far as I'll go. When the HP of a floor boss decreases beyond a certain level, it enters a state called going insane, and may use powerful skills. When the HP of this demon is reduced to about a quarter, its entire body is enveloped in a blue aura, and its defense is greatly increased, and it releases a vicious skill with an extraordinary destructive power. If that happens, it would be impossible for me to deal with it alone. Sota Narumi seems to be doing his part, but I don't think he will be able to keep up with the high-level battle we are about to face. Hopeless. Just as these words flashed through my mind, the tide suddenly turned in an unexpected direction. Inspired by the fact that the armored woman was going up against the demon without using any escape items, Narumi said he would be the tank. Come to think of it, I wondered why there was no fear or trepidation in his eyes when the demon was summoned. The reason for this would soon become clear. Decapitator, over here, open double angle bracket elicited howl, close double angle bracket. A roar so loud that this entire vast hall shook. That is a typical skill used by the top secret job, Knight, which exists only in the Holy Empire. The Holy Empire is located in Eastern Europe and is headed by Saint Aurora. Even within that empire, only the ultra-elite chosen by Saint Aurora can serve as a knight. It is said that in the future they will become Kingsguard Knights or Apostles of Aurora, important figures who will have a great influence on national politics. They rarely appear in public, and their information is thoroughly controlled and shrouded in a thick veil, and yet. And here they are, right in front of me, the state secrets of the Empire. I honestly underestimated Aurora and the power of the Apostles. The Holy Empire is a new country with a short history created by a bunch of ragtag adventurers who were trying to make it look like a terrorist organization, and I wondered what Aurora's chosen talent would prove. However, if I look at the knight in front of me, I will be made to understand the abnormality even if I don't want to. Sota Narumi, with flames in both arms, easily parries or ducks the massive fists that swing down from his 4 massive arms, and if there is an opening, he dives into the bosom of the opponent and calmly counters. Although his speed of movement was probably lower than mine, he had amazing fighting skills and a tactical eye. If such a talent has been discovered and nurtured, I have no choice but to drastically change my opinion of Aurora and the Empire. But there are a lot of strange things going on. Narumi's movements are by no means fast. In fact, I and the demons seem to be several steps faster and more powerful than Narumi. And yet, he easily handles a barrage of strikes that even I would barely be able to avoid with a minimum of force and movement, and even moves as if he knows where the next attack will come. As a result, the devil is at Narumi's mercy, unable to respond at all. Why can he move like that? It is not that he sees it and then ducks. Just by making a preliminary movement to unleash a fist, Narumi has already shifted his center of gravity and moved to evade. Then was it because he predicted the move? That would be different. It is not possible to make that move just because you predicted the attack. If there is even the slightest deviation in the prediction of the trajectory of the punch that lesser demon will unleash, it could be knocked down with a single blow. Therefore, to a certain extent, the evasive maneuvering from the prediction would have to be a big move with some insurance. However, Narumi's movement shows no sign of hesitation at all. He is too efficient in his movements to avoid lethal attacks with a single stroke of the paper and to aim for a counter. How well do you know the lesser demon?
He has repeatedly made moves that would be impossible without a deep knowledge of the lesser demon monster. This guess was confirmed when it unleashed a 4-armed barrage of skills.
Before the demon made the slashing motion, Narumi had moved his center of gravity to put his body in a safe place and was in the motion of launching the one-handed sword skill, even though he had not yet swung his fist and no gap had been created. He even avoided the attack without seeing it, and even did the acrobatic trick of placing the skill in the trajectory of his arm in advance and cutting it off. It was so perfect it was creepy.
It is a feat that can only be accomplished by knowing what attack will come next and where the opening will be, by covering every possible attack pattern, and even by grasping the thought routine. To be able to do this, it is impossible to just watch a video. It would require tremendous experience in actual combat, dozens, if not hundreds of times. Is it really possible?
How many devil's books does it take to do that? In order to summon lesser demons, one needs the Book of Demons. However, in order to obtain it, you need to defeat stronger monsters, and the procedure and process to get there is complicated. It takes a tremendous amount of manpower and time to get the right number. I wonder if they were systematically collected using dungeons in the Empire. I thought the method of obtaining the book was classified information only in the US, but if even Suo knew about it, it is not surprising that even the Empire would know about it. But I also wonder what they were doing collecting so many devil's books. Information about the Empire is rarely revealed to the public, and countries around the world send agents to probe for information. Some of my colleagues from the same period have also entered and conducted intelligence activities, but no one has yet been able to reach the heart of the organization. In this sense, the connection with Sota Narumi, an apostle of Aurora, is equivalent to a lump of mithril. Can't I somehow entangle him and extract confidential information from him? I am sure that something surprising would come out of it. Should I be more sociable in order to shorten the distance between us? Kuga-san, when this guy's HP drops below 25%, I want you to monitor him with appraisal. How do you know I have that skill? I'll get to that later. Anyway, he'll be going insane with 20% of your strength remaining. When I give you the signal, both of you step away once. I understand, Narumi, I'll definitely have to ask him about it after, even though I kept the appraisal. Anyway, this guy would be able to keep tanking until he went insane without any problem. But after he goes insane, lesser demon will use skills that are as powerful as those of the deepest floor bosses, and I don't think Narumi can handle it alone without special equipment. Is there some unexpected way, or will he show us further secrets of the Empire? This is all very interesting, but first, let me ask him something. Sota Narumi, what are you going to do? I'm going to avoid the going insane skill, and when I'm done, you can use your weapon skill to resume your attack. After he goes insane, your normal attacks won't go through. What do you mean by avoid? If you have seen this demon go insane even once, you would know that such a thing is utterly impossible. But I have seen Narumi Sota so far, he might really be able to avoid him. He is a man who is utterly unobtainable.
Is now at 26% HP. He's going to use something as bad as riches, insane, right? Oh, yeah, he's going to shoot 1,000 magic bullets at us.
1,000 magic bullets? Will you be fine? 23%? As the HP at which the going insane is triggered approaches, the devil, who had been struggling and looking reluctant, regains his cruel smile again. It looks like it's thinking, now I can finally give him a miserable death. 21%. It's coming, get away from me, both of you.
I believe you, Narumi. I'm on it. The two of us quickly retreat to a corner of the hall with the armored woman. The lesser demon's madness skill can wreak havoc over a wide area. We must keep a sufficient distance.
Gusha, Sinu Gai Dai Dai Dai. With 20% remaining, my vision is filled with blue light. With a low-frequency, earth-shaking cry, the demon's reddish-black body is enveloped in blue flames, and the square is filled with a heavy aura. Once in this state, even this magic weapon will not be able to pass normal attacks, and damage can only be inflicted by skills with attack power compensation. The problem, however, is not the aura, but rather the skill to be fired immediately after the aura.
When the demon raised its 4 arms, a magic circle of about 3 meters in diameter appeared above its head. It was covered with intricate patterns, and black, muddy magic power was overflowing from places like the letters. Even from this far away, the density of the terrifying magic power is so terrifying that it makes my skin tingle.
The lesser demon's madness skill is to summon powerful magic bullets from that magic circle and release them in rapid succession. Even a single shot is powerful enough to shatter buildings, so a direct hit to the body is enough to kill a person unless he or she is heavily armed. There are 2 countermeasures. The first is to activate a number of anti-missile magic tools to form wards, and to put up a number of pure mithril shields, which are resistant to magical attacks, to withstand the impact.
This is the safest tactic for the home country to take, but the magic tools are very expensive, and the pure mithril that catches too many magic bullets becomes useless and has to be disposed of, so a huge amount of money is lost just by doing this tactic once. The biggest disadvantage is that the battle is not that profitable in spite of this.
The other method is to run away from the damage. Although it is cheaper and does not require anything, it has the fatal disadvantage that the damage is completely unpredictable. If magic bullets are scattered without fixing the target, they will land almost anywhere, even in such a large space. If it is not done properly, it could result in total annihilation. This is the method taken by the General Strategy Clan, but it is clearly a gamble. You're saying you won't take either of those options? Right now, the sights of the magic circle are locked on the man in front of him, and an extremely large magic bullet is about to be released. And yet, Narumi does not appear to be using any special item, nor does he seem to be running away, but rather, he is standing still and not moving. I'm worried about that smirk on his face, but I'll just have to wait and see. The magic circle glows brightly for a moment, and dozens of blue balls of light are simultaneously shot out at high speed, landing in a line of light in the area where Narumi was. At the same time, the sound of explosions rings out, and the stone floor, which had been neatly laid out, rises up, sending up a cloud of dust with great force. Not even a second later, the same number of photoballs are summoned, and they are fired without a pause. The summoning of more photoballs continued. The firepower is clearly excessive, as if they are trying to control the entire area. The bombing range continues to expand. The number of light balls being summoned increased, and they continued to rain down like a hail of bullets. There was no safe place for Narumi to be, including the surrounding area. The hall of the cathedral, which used to have a solemn atmosphere, is now covered with craters and has become a sight to behold. It was the first time for me to actually see the going insane skills of the lesser demons with my own eyes, but what I saw on the video was nothing like what I saw in person. The devastation spreading out before my eyes filled me with helpless fear. The armored woman next to me took only one step backward, but she stayed her ground and cheered him on, waving her axe and saying, "Hang in there." It's a healthy thing to say, but if you are bombed that much without much equipment, even Narumi, who has superhuman sense, won't survive. But the biggest problem has been solved. That aura that raises defenses is still alive and well, so it will be a long battle from here on out, but it is safe to assume that we have a chance to win. We must change our minds, thinking that we only had to sacrifice one person. We will have to rely on the firepower of the armored women. TL. I kinda pity Narumi now, armor girl. You must harden your heart for Narumi is Dia. Narumi. Then both of you. When the dust cleared, there was a man standing there as if nothing had happened. He is gingerly brushing the dirt off his clothes. Did he really lose that storm of extremely large magic bullets? Let's fight back. Narumi, Chapter 88 Small Secret Room. Gusha, Sinu Gai Dai Dai. Oh ho ho. Scary. Lesser demon moves a huge magic circle with a victorious look on its face and sets its sights on me. Even a single shot is several times more powerful than the magic used by most monsters, but firing 1,000 of them at me makes me think about the balance of the game. I suppose I could have dealt with it by making full use of various items and skills, but I can't take either of those options now. The only decent armor I have on me is a pair of mithril pincers, and the only armor I have is a pigskin light armor that was sitting in the dust at home. Besides, those two are watching. Even though it's already been troublesome enough, I want to get through this difficult situation while keeping the skills I showed to a minimum. Then what to do? Of course, I have a secret plan.
There are stone floors all over this boss area. In the game, there was a vertical hole that led to the gate room by moving one of the stone floors, and I checked first when I came in to see if the same structure was used here. Once summoned and engaged in battle, movement is restricted and you cannot go outside or go to the gate room, but you can go in and out of the vertical hole in the small room directly below it. The strategy is to get into the hole and get out of his reckless madness.
The only thing I have to keep in mind is that I must not be noticed by the lesser demon when I enter the pit. If I was to be discovered, the entire pit would be destroyed, or the hate would be reset and the target of the magic bullets would be directed at Amama and the others. The plan was to enter the pit after the magic bullets were fired and a cloud of smoke rose, making it difficult for them to see me. I think they will not aim for a direct hit at first, but will shoot in a spiral to scare me, so I just have to be careful of the blast and avoid them as well. If it was like that in the game, and in the case things are not like of the game, I might die. The more I try to calmly grasp the situation, the funnier it gets. I try to look into the lesser demon's goat face to see if he'll go easy on me if I whine, but it doesn't look like he'll forgive me, so I move stealthily closer to the pit so I can escape into it anytime I want. Hopefully, it is coming. The giant magic circle glows and dozens of high-density blue magic bullets are summoned at the same time. They float for a few seconds, then suddenly accelerate and flash down, turning my field of vision completely blue. Even at level 20, the trajectory of the magic bullets is so fast that I can only see a few of them. Even so, it was enough for me to see that the bullets shot in a spiral pattern just like in the game. Immediately after I quickly moved in a spiraling motion from the point of impact, there were several explosions, the stone floor shattered, and the fragments scattered with great force. Slightly less dusty than expected, I release a fleeing claymore into the ground and slides in, opening the entrance to let my body in.
Had I made it. I seriously thought I was going to die.
The explosions continue to sound above me, so I guess it was a success for the time being. I'm sure he's happy to shoot at me because he thinks I'm still in that place, but he's just a low-class demon. They may be big, but they have the intelligence of a goblin. If it were a higher-level demon, it would be strangely clever, so I doubt I would be able to use the same trick. I went down the ladder, using a small portable lantern to light my way, and about 10 meters down there was a space surrounded by stone walls that was smaller than my room, and in the center was a treasure chest that glowed a dull color. It was a silver treasure chest that contained a magic item. There it was, after all. In Dunax, this treasure chest near the gate room was always empty, but in our world, no one seemed to come for it, perhaps because of the perception blocking. I immediately took out the treasure chest key, silver, that I bought at Obaba's store from the accessory case and opened it. Although the treasure chest was large enough to hold one person, all that was inside was a single small ring with a red gemstone. But size does not equal value, so there was no need to be disappointed. If one pick it up and take a closer look at it, one will see that there is a sparkling powdery snow-like substance dancing around the jewel. Could this possibly be a spirit inhabiting it?
Some magic items are very rarely possessed by spirits, and they have the property of evolving as you continue to use them. When they are first obtained, they may have a weak effect, but if they are nurtured properly, they can have a powerful effect and are traded among players for surprisingly high prices. The spirit in this red gem is a carbuncle that increases vitality, so it is expected to be effective in restoring HP. I don't think it will heal anything more than a scratch, but I'll equip it just in case, hey.
As I was rolling it around to see which finger to put it on, I felt an irritating, grumpy magic. Could it be willpower? I ignored it for the moment and put it on, and it seemed to have an effect, and the small wounds all over my body began to heal. The effect must have been about HP plus 1 per minute. Still, it was more than enough for everyday use. The sound and vibration of the explosions above me grew louder, and the amount of falling dust and debris gradually increased. It's about time to finish. Then I guess wrap it up. Gwa. Its blue and dense aura is covering his whole body, and it extends his arm to crush me, but it's not moving fast, so I can avoid it by making a small turn. I'll also use my provocation skill on top of it.
Go for it, butt slash. I'll take on the another one. Double sting. Amama took a big step forward, jumped, and swung down vertically with all her might on the huge double-bladed axe she had just raised. The slash that generates a shockwave easily cuts through the aura and thick epidermis, inflicting critical damage. The lesser demon crouched down in so much pain that it stopped moving by thrusting one hand, and Kuga-san succeeded in slashing it down by precisely applying her skill to its now defenseless arm. 3 of his 4 arms have already been cut off, and only one remains. The body is gushing blood, and his movements are slowing down. The rest of the body is in a state to be boiled or roasted.
Even so, the firepower of the two who concentrated on the attack was more than expected. I never thought they would be able to cut down the HP of the lesser demon, whose entire body was covered with aura, and its defensive strength had been increased by several levels, in no more than less than 10 minutes. Without the provocation skill, I would not have been able to keep up the hate. How are you going to distribute the items? I hear these devil horns make good material. I wonder what the legendary Great Devil tastes like. Exciting. Gwa. We were already talking about drop distribution. The lesser demon, on the other hand, seems to understand human language and is grunting weakly, looking different from when it was first summoned. I can't help but feel that I am bullying the weak in some way, but there are no extenuating circumstances for the demon who shot me with such a skill. But it seems that those two are not thinking about going easy on me because they want the materials. With only a few percent of HP remaining and victory assured, the lesser demon begins to let out a high-pitched yell. This is an SOS skill unique to demonic monsters. The lesser demon makes a humiliating help call to the nearby monsters or other demons whose souls it resonates with, probably saying, "I'll be your servant, so help me." But there are no monsters in this level, and no demons pop up in the nearby levels. In other words, it has become a useless skill. So, now that you've begged for you life, let's be done with this. What is this? I raised my sword to put the finishing touches on the crawling lesser demon, and a glowing purple phantom appeared right in front of me. Someone is trying to use the gate to come here. All 3 of us moved away to see what was going on. Is this it? I knew it was here. The magic element is very thin. Oh? She has a face that is still young enough to be in junior high school if we were to talk about humans. She has long, loose blonde hair and glowing red eyes. She wears white scaled full body armor and a jet black cloak with a red border. On her head is a large curly horn. She is a demon in battle mode. I know this demon, but from what I remember, she was much more quiet and ostentatious, and that's not how she was now. No, rather she was very strange.
What's up with that? Akira, Katona, and why even Butao? What kind of a team selection is this?
The Majin looks at us and strikes an ostentatiously surprised pose. How does she know about us? That's probably what everyone wants to know. TL, a player? Who are you? Are you one of those horned demons? The devil? But how do you know our names? The two of my teammates didn't seem too alarmed by the fact that she looked like a young girl, but that thought must be changed soon. In this world, appearance does not correlate with strength. In fact, the level of this demon far surpasses that of the lesser demon. Whoa, oh you summoned me, but I'm busy right now. For those who are bothering me, I have the open double angle bracket Agara's blade closed double angle bracket. As the Majin activates her skill with a flip of her wrist, our vision is enveloped in light, and a roar and blast of air erupt. The three of us who were standing still are blown away by this sudden event. All that remained was the remains of the lesser demon, which had been cut in half in the ground and had been gouged out vertically. It slowly faded away, leaving only a magic stone and a horn. I'd like to go outside, can you tell me how to do that? I crawled over and looked up at her, her eyes still glowing with the same madness as when she first appeared. Chapter 89 Order of the Golden Lion, Kaworu Heise's point of view. A demon wolf, I will lead the way, Gua.
From far away, Ms. Omiya comes running with a very large demon wolf warg.
The wolf is so fast that even if you try to bring it along normally, it will catch up with you on the way, so you have to use a remote attack to catch it from afar. But Omiya-san is very good with the bow, and on top of that, she can do several multi-roles, from scouting to attacker, which dramatically improves our hunting efficiency. I can see glimpses of her high physical ability in some places, so I don't feel like she's pushing herself too hard, but with her level, I can only wonder how she has such a physique.
Hey San, I'm counting on you. Yes, leave it to me.
I'm so impressed with her ability that I can hear the demon wolf's breathing as it comes close enough to me. Now I have to take the first hit as the tank and keep up the hate. I signal and give instructions to the group members while holding my shield. Everyone take your positions, don't take too much weight. Okay, the body hit of a demon wolf over 2 meters long is heavy, but I can hold my ground if I can see when it is coming. For NY main weapon, I use a thin sword that is easy to handle with just his right hand. Its attack power is weak, but it is the best weapon for just gaining hate. I would connect my attacks in detail and fix the target on me. Omiya-san is actually a better tank than I am, but she is watching over us from afar, keeping her hands to herself for the sake of our experience and to earn experience points. The group members, on the other hand, are carefully attacking while watching for hate so as not to take the target away from me. Even though today was the first time for us to hunt for the demon wolves, we were not in a flustered state, and we were able to stand steady as a group. The second half of the exam is approaching, but I am able to move my body and my physical condition seems to be in good shape. I'm glad I took the plunge and came all this way. I thought hunting on the 6th floor was a big gamble, but I knew I could do it well enough since the group members were able to make job changes in addition to Omiya's unexpected ability. If we could continue to hunt demon wolves at this rate, perhaps we could beat the D class in terms of the amount of demon stones. The elite team of Mishima and his team were scheduled to join us in the afternoon, and the flow was definitely coming. In order to get through the rest of the school year, the key to success will be how consistently we can hunt the demon wolves. If things go like this, we'll be able to get through the rest of the school year. That's the third one. That's good. After we catch our breath, let's work a little harder until noon. Oh, yeah, let's go. Oh, everyone, you've got a different look on your face. We, on the other hand, have given you a disappointing performance. I'm really sorry. No, I heard you and Mishima were doing great. Mishima, let's make a fresh start again. While I was eating lunch, Mishima and his friends came to join us and bowed to me after greeting me. I think it was an inevitable result, but I have to thank them for not complaining and working to support us. Hey Ace, what should we do? We have confirmed that we can hunt the wolves, but there may be goblin riders in the vicinity. If you could hunt them with us while we hunt the wolves, it would make us more efficient.
You've just arrived on the 6th floor, it will be tricky to deal with them. I understand, we'll take care of it.
Goblin riders riding with demon wolves are often in a clique, and even if they are alone, they are difficult to defeat because they will run away when they are at a disadvantage. Mishima, who has a lot of experience in hunting here, would be able to continue defeating them without any problem. After that, as we were confirming our strategy, he suddenly whispered to me. Speaking of which, is it true about the helpers? Yes, Omiya-san brought them here. I don't know if he can come today. I was wondering if Omiya knew him. Did Tachiki give you any instructions? Naoto informed me that he would not be planning a strategy that relies on helpers. The main message was that they wanted to win this class competition by their own strength to gain confidence, but they may already be thinking about class strategies for the future. I see, so it's Tachiki's own way. What's wrong? A classmate who was on watch rushes in as if in a panic. Mishima, the demon wolf is linking over there. It's a train.
How many? Forget that everyone, get ready for battle. Hurry up, everyone. When I heard the word, train, I thought of that Sorrel clan. But this time, there were only a few of them, so it was not a number that we could not handle. I quickly put on my protective gear and stood up with my shield.
I should go to the front too. I want you to catch the person who made the train, Omiya-san. Can you do that for me? I know, he got away that time. I understand. Here they come, the demon wolf. 5. As we were all holding our breaths and bracing ourselves, a man came running up to 10 meters in front of us. He was masked, so we couldn't see his face, but we could guess from his shaggy hair that he was the same person who had brought the Orc Lord. The man was holding what looked like some kind of magical tool in his hand, and when he passed magic power through it, his presence suddenly disappeared and his figure became difficult to see. This feeling of disappearing from sight is similar to that of a masked adventurer. The disappearance of the man who had been the demon wolf's target reset his hate, and they attacked us all at once. They abused their magical tools to do the rubbing. We were in charge of 1 demon wolf and Mishima's group was in charge of 3. Omiya-san finished off the remaining one with a single blow, and then ran to catch the man who must still be nearby. Everyone, don't panic, we'll be fine. As we take a breath after defeating the last demon wolf, Omiya-san drags the captured man in front of us. Ha 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 ha, so I was just running away from a tangled mess too.
His mask is removed, revealing his distinctive appearance, with a beard and a mustache attached to it. He's uttering bitter excuses, but I have the pictures from Orc Lord, so I won't let him get away with it.
It's a lie, your picture is already out there. What are you doing, to complain against me? Do you know who I am? You're a dirty little bastard, I'm going to turn you in to the guild.
The man was so violent that he kept on screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming. The man repeatedly mentions Sorrel's name as he storms off, but if we let him go, he will do it again. It would be wiser to turn him into the Adventurers Guild as soon as possible, just as Mishima had said.
As if timing it right, a group of people came rushing toward us from the other side, a D-class group in charge for total magical stone capacity. Were they waiting nearby? Inferior class trash, you messed with my brother, you're not going to get away with it. Thank goodness you're here, these guys are making false accusations against me.
The leader of the D-class group, Manaka Zenjiru, was always an enemy of our class and had attacked Sota the other day. I guess his intention is to make this issue go away, but I sense something more unpleasant than that from Hazama.
D-class people, we have proof, so there's no point in trying to bring violence to the situation. You're making ridiculous accusations, I'll crush you. Mishima-kun retorts that he has the video evidence and that D were the bad guy, but Hazama and some others in D-class pull out their weapons and point the tip of their swords at us without saying whether or not.
They are capable of killing not only monsters but also people. Even if they did not intend to kill, they could easily cut off an arm or even kill a person. I don't think that will happen, but just in case it does, I have to make a phone call to the guild.
You bitch, what were you trying to do? Ow. Hey, when he grabbed me by the hair and tried to swung me around, Ms. Omiya grabbed his hand and intervened. That was the signal for a battle, and it almost turned into a battle, but before the D-class could take a step forward, Ms. Omiya quickly overpowered half of them. It was truly amazing. I won't tolerate evil. Tay, what's with that strength? Class D was surprised and dismayed by her unexpected strength. As far as I could tell from the database, most of the D-class total magic stone quantity groups should have been around level 7 or 8, but none of the students were able to handle Ms. Omiya's speed. So I guess we can be sure that she is level 10 or above. Mishima and I were surprised, but we immediately took out our phones and called the school and the guild for help. We could not forgive the man Sorrel who caused this incident, nor the D-class who tried to kill us with violence by pointing a weapon at us. But we can no longer say so. What are you doing, Kaneko-chan? Soon someone comes into the room at an unseen speed with the wind. He kicks Omiya-san in the side and blows her away. My mind can't catch up with what has happened with the sudden appearance of the intruder. Standing there was a large, muscular, but out of place and flamboyant man. He wore vulgar jewelry on his hands and ears, a large golden sword on his back, a badge of the sun and the Order of the Golden Lion gleaming on his chest. That medal is, for a designated conquering clan, it's bad. The Designated Strategy Clan is a title given only to clans that have been recognized by the Japanese government for their high level of ability and achievement. There are many clans that call themselves strategy clans, but the Designated Strategy Clan is not allowed to call itself so easily. The Order of the Golden Lion is a badge of honor that only members of that clan can hold. It is said that many adventurers make it their ultimate goal.
However, Sorrel is not a designated strategy clan. He probably belongs to a higher, more famous clan. Omiya-san, on the other hand, had rolled several meters and remained motionless. She was unable to react at all to the man's kick, and seemed to have been knocked unconscious by it. When Mishima and I took a step forward to check her condition, we were hit by a strong, undulating aura. You kids, do you think you can get away with this for free?
The aura is so dense and so massive that everyone here, including me, is terrified and crouches down in prostration. I could not measure how strong it was, but I was made to understand that even if we were all united, we would not stand a chance.
For the sake of the future of our class, we must not give in to threats. I know that, but what can I do in the face of such an aura of violence?
I had no choice but to pray desperately that my heart would not be broken in this dark and depressing situation with no clear future. Chapter 90 Sorrel. Kaworu Heisa's point of view. The Colors clan is said to be the most active clan in Japan today, having accomplished the feat of defeating the Mad King Rich, a feat that no other clan has been able to accomplish.
Originally a merger of 5 clans, these clans still support Colors as a subordinate organization. Sorel is a member of the Brocade Kinran-kai, one of the subordinate organizations. It is a so-called tertiary organization.
Even though it is affiliated with the Colors, it is not that powerful as a tertiary organization. However, Sorel itself has only been in existence for a few years, and is a small, young clan that is eager to make a name for itself. Its rank in the Brocade Club was also at a level where one could count from the bottom. But that was until a month ago. Sorel had made a tremendous achievement, the discovery of an unknown area. There was a new type of monster called a golem, which was very efficient at leveling up, and there was even a huge structure where treasure chests containing magic items appeared despite the shallow level of the area. The Colors' monopolization of the unknown area made it easier to raise their strength and strengthen their finances, and the name of Sorel became well known within the Colors. As a result, the then Sorel clan leader was promoted to the executive of the Brocade Association. The new clan leader was seconded directly to Sorel by a member of the Kinran-kai to oversee the clan, an unusual appointment, and the Brocade Club member who was transferred to Sorel was. This is the Kaga Daigo-sama. The trainer is proud of Sorel's history and plays Kaga's drums. He claims to be the one who discovered the unknown area, but he doesn't seem like such a great guy. Brocade Association. Why would such a bigwig intervene in our test?
Mishima-kun stoutly raises his head and glares at Kaga even after being exposed to the strong aura. If what Brother Hazama said is true, it is a natural question. The Kinran-kai is a well-known designated attack clan with many excellent warriors, even if not as many as the Colors, which is at the highest level. Why would someone who was a member of such a place intervene in a high school student's exam?
The reason I went to the trouble of showing up at a bunch of kids' games was to see if there was anyone I could use.
He wants to make Sorel a strong clan that is worthy of being a direct member of the Kinran-kai, which is known for its martial arts. But at present, there are not enough people to make it a strong clan. They have come to the adventurer's school to buy the best students, thinking that now that they have discovered an unknown area, their fame has increased, and they have received huge royalties, they can scout for talented people under favorable conditions.
However, when he actually looked around, he found that the best students were all nobles or people related to other clans, so he could not get his hands on them, and the students who were free fell short of his expectations. He was thinking of leaving. But, I never thought there was anyone in E-class who could be of use. He say this while looking at Ms. Omiya, who is fainting, in the side. Although they had excluded the E-class from our scouting targets because of its poor performance in recent years and the fact that it has been ridiculed and criticized as an inferior class, it would be a different story if there was someone this talented. And even if the E-class was good, there is little chance that it is tied to some organization. They were demanding that I give them a list with the students' information. After all, you've been watching from afar since the Demon Wolf train, haven't you? Even I could tell from Omiya-san's movements that she was out of the ordinary, but I don't think there are other students in E-class who are as strong as her, and even if there were, it would be useless to look at the list since the school doesn't put their real level in their database. Before that, there is no reason to give it to an outsider who would do a train. You don't have veto power, you have to pay for messing with our stuff, and should I take the kid with you? I won't let you do it. Mishima-kun stood up and punched him, but Kaga softly avoided the attack without even looking at it, and turned around and slammed his fist into his dovetail. The actuality that even Omiya-san kicked away so fast that even she couldn't duck is genuine. Even if he were to launch his fist properly, it wouldn't even graze him. Seeing Mishima-kun crumble to the ground, the Sorel members and the D-class members scoffed at him. You are an inferior class. Don't be churlish, the small fry. It is true that our ability is low. Even so, there are some things we can't compromise on. No matter what they say, Omiya-san saved my life and is my precious friend. I absolutely cannot let him have her. I run up to Omiya-san and stand in front of her with my hands outstretched. There is no way that the future we want will come to those who only tremble and watch because they are powerful opponents. With such a weak heart, we will not be able to grasp anything, we will be frustrated and broken, and we will just lead a rotten school life. This is not the time to talk about class competitions or growth afterwards. What are you doing? Don't you understand the difference in our abilities yet? Leave it to me, Kaga-san. I've been after this one for a while. I have no use for small fry, do what you want. Hey, we're taking her with us. Hazama Naka looks at me with a sneering face, licking my whole body and telling Kaga to leave it to him. It is a look that is dozens or hundreds of times more disgusting than Sota's lewd eyes. I look at him warily, wondering what he is going to do to me, but he doesn't take a stance or take it unguardedly and reaches out his hand, so I grab it and throw it away. You know what, I was going to be nice to you, but I'm not going to tolerate you anymore. He pulls out something that looks like mace and threatens to hit the ground. I'm sure he's on a higher level than I am. Even so, I will not be defeated. Perhaps sensing my spirit, my classmates stood next to me one after another. Even if I won against Hazama, there would be a number of higher-ranked Sorel members standing behind him. Even if we were to challenge them together, we would still be on a losing streak. Still, how reassuring it is to have friends who will stand up to me together. Hey, that's too much trouble. You better make sure they know how scary Sorel can be. I'm going back with the kid. If you mess with Omiya, our helpers will not be silent, they won't keep quiet. On, Mishima-kun, who had collapsed, coughs and says as if to throw up. Kaga, who was about to take Omiya-san with him, stopped walking and thought about it. Who is that? There was someone like that. Inferior class, answer me. Call him. If that helper can beat me, I'll make amends for everything I've done so far. You guys, form up. Did they think that Omiya-san had some string attached, or did they wonder about the presence of a helper in Class E? I don't know what had caught their interest, but Sorel and the others took out their camping gear and began to set up camp in this spot. They wanted to stay at the exit to prevent us from escaping. However, I was hesitant to summon the person who had saved my classmates to such a dangerous place, and I can't make a decision without consulting Omiya-san. TL Sadface is whispering, Mishima-kun, are you sure you can say such a thing? It was the only way, it seems like that. Omiya-san has woken up, so let's talk to her about it. As my classmate held Omiya-san's fainted head in their arms and cared for her, she finally woke up. She had been kicked in the side, but there appeared to be no abnormalities in her bones or internal organs. I was kicked in the stomach, I didn't even notice. She said it still hurt a little, but it was only a minor bruise. I'm surprised at how sturdy she is to be kicked so hard that it blows off and only having a bruise, but I'm really glad. I'll try to explain what happened as soon as possible. Only Omiya-san knows the contact information of the masked adventurer, and she is the one who has the initiative on whether to call him or not. When I asked her what she was going to do, she told me that the helper had originally planned to join us later in the day to help us hunt. But helper is a very important person, I can't involve her in something so dangerous. But he said he was going to take you away. Not only that, they even demanded that we withdraw our total magic stone amount. They're trying to push through everything with violence. They even went so far as to. The D class was planning to train the total magic stone group from the beginning, and if not, threaten us and make them withdraw. Sorel even said he would take Omiya-san with him. We could not accept such an unreasonable demand. But I had no idea how to get out of this situation. If that's the case, I'll take him down. I let my guard down earlier, but I won't lose again.
Impossible. His aura was in the realm of the abnormal. I admit that you are strong, but the name of Brocade Association is not a given.
I won't know until I try. Good, I'm not busy until your helpers arrive, so I'm going to check out your skills a little. Kaga, who had been watching us, tossed his shiny golden sword and approached us with a wry smile, saying, I'll take you on with my fists. No matter how strong Omiya-san is, as someone who has experienced that open double-angle bracket or a close double-angle bracket, I don't think she has a chance to win. I try to stop her, but she smiles and says, it's okay, and I can't say anything. I won't let evil get away with it, ha 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 ha, it takes skill to do justice, you know? Omiya-san clenches her fists together to get into the spirit, then takes a stance while lowering her center of gravity and keeping a rhythm. Kaga, on the other hand, is in a natural posture with his arms slouched down. An adventurer from a well-known clan called Kinrin Kai is being confronted by a fellow E-class member who is despised as inferior. I felt a strange sensation of both discomfort and elation at the sight of them. The members of D-class and Sorrel were watching with laughter, thinking that there was no way they would lose, but that was only until the battle began. Kaga crossed her arms and met them head-on. The speed and wind pressure of the attack caused a gasp of surprise from the Sorrel camp. From there, Kaga unleashes a blindingly fast combo of thrusts, backfists, and spinning kicks, all of which are met with a look of nonchalance. Fast enough, but the attack is too straightforward. Kaga grabs Omiya-san's sleeve while defending himself and make her lose her balance, making it impossible for her to avoid it, and then slams a kick into her back. The blow was quite heavy and she staggered and coughed. Still, she did not go down and stoutly tried to get into position. A great fight, but all of the attacks I saw were fast, sharp, and clearly out of the E-class level. I had seen a C-class fight once, and they were no worse than that. But was it because of the difference in level or the difference in experience? It was probably both. The two camps were quiet because of the unexpectedly fierce battle. The D-class members, whom had ridiculed us as inferior, were staring at us with their mouths hanging open, while the Sorrel members were observing with interest, their eyes shifting. We, too, were surprised, of course, but we had to make grim faces because nothing had changed in the desperate situation. In the midst of such a tense battle, we heard a strange humming. Oh money, hum. The melody and lyrics of the song are very silly. If you look in the direction from which you hear this strange humming, you can see someone skipping toward us. At first glance, it seems to be an ordinary skip, but it is moving erratically, spinning and zigzagging at a considerable speed, yet there is no footstep sound at all. I wonder why. Everyone present here was watching the approach of this strange figure with fluttering eyes frozen in their place. Chapter 91 Faker, Kaworu Hayes' point of view. HMPH. It was still the masked adventurer who approached with fast and erratic skips. He must have come as a helper today as well.
But when she noticed that there were many D-class and strange men in the same room with us, she stopped at the entrance of the room and started tilting her head. It seems she don't seem to have a grasp of the situation. Who is it? Oh, masked guy, don't come here.
The masked adventurer, realizing that Omiya-san is there, runs straight to her and hugs her. She just tilts his head again when she sees that Omiya-san hair and breathing are disheveled and her face is flushed. Doesn't look like a helper. What do you think, Zenpatsu? He looks weak. The Momonoka brothers, looking at the masked adventurer, said he looked weaker than they were, and wondered why he would normally go solo on the 6th floor, where fast-footed demonic wolves were popping up. "Hey Ace, is that him?" "Yes, that's the adventurer who helped us." Mishima-kun asked in a whisper with a grim expression on his face. "I was there to witness the masked adventurer destroying the Orc Lord train in less than a minute, and later slaying orcs with a single blow or throwing them away with one hand. Even if she is petite, there is incredible power hidden in those slender arms." TL. People are confusing her gender in disguise. But Mishima and his classmates, who had never seen her strength, could not hide their disappointment. "Some of my classmates are saddened. Perhaps they judged her solely on her appearance." It is common knowledge that a first-rate adventurer is also equipped with first-rate equipment. Showing strength is a way to be recognized by other adventurers and to be treated well by guilds and clans. This is why strong adventurers like Kaga tend to dress more flamboyantly. Yet she wears a shabby-looking ragged robe and an old wooden mask. She also wears a simple dagger on her hip, without a single ornament. Combined with her small stature, there is not a shred of strength to be found in her appearance. But that is no mere piece of equipment.
I see it as a magic item with some kind of magic attached to it. Maybe it has an effect to make it look weak or to make it disappear from existence.
"Oh, sorry, I got you into something dangerous." Omiya-san greets her again with a gentle hug. The masked adventurer, probably wanting to know why we are in this situation, frequently looks at me silently and asks me to explain the situation. As I was about to step forward, the sorrel men noisily interrupted me. "Say, this little guy is your helper? He doesn't seem to be anywhere near as good as Kaga-san expects him to be. What do you think?" "What do we do? Let's see if we can get a quick assessment." One of the sorrels unleashes his appraisal skill unhesitatingly at the masked adventurer. Everyone listened closely to hear how strong she was. But from the look on the man's face, the results were not so good. "Oh, it's weak. Weak? You're level 10, right? Means he's level 8? Oh no, Kaga-san is going to get mad. The simple appraisal can only judge the relative strength and weakness of the item from the user's point of view. The weak indication from level 10 means the skill user is 2 levels lower than the masked adventurer. In other words, the masked adventurer is level 8, but there is no way that such a strong person is level 8. She runs around with such speed that it is difficult to follow her, and she has the physical strength to throw an orc weighing close to 100 kilograms with one hand. Even that Orc Lord was no match for her. It is not a feat that can be done at level 8. Is she inhibited from appraisal, or is her status disguised? If so, why would she use such a thing? "Level 8, you scared the hell out of me. It's not worth bothering Kaga-san. I'm going to take this guy down myself." Maybe, it's okay, just do it." When he finds out that the level is lower than his, brother Hazama starts to provoke the masked adventurer. He glares at her and poses a blatant challenge to them to come at him. He is showing a great deal of motivation, whether he is still bitter about being tossed aside by Omiya-san earlier or whether he just wants to show his brother how good he is. Kaga showed an ambiguous attitude as if he was caught up in something, but gave his permission for a duel. "It's just one punch. I'll finish this little guy off with one punch." Brother Manaka raises his index finger high above his head and declares a one-shot KO to his younger brother. The masked adventurer, on the other hand, approaches slowly and looks at Brother Manaka's face. Carefully, as if she intends to take him on. "Hey, Mask-chan, don't do anything dangerous." "But Omiya, that person is." As for Omiya-san, she really doesn't want to let the masked adventurer fight. "I look forward to a good show, Mr. Hazama."
Let's stick to the usual rules, then. The sorrel members decide the rules of the duel on their own. It is a common practice for adventurers to duel each other, and the rules state that weapons are forbidden until one of them is incapacitated or surrenders.
Private fights are illegal, but the Adventurers Guild is willing to turn a blind eye if the fights are conducted out of sight. This is because it helps to vent the pride of adventurers with rough temperaments. However, if the two physically strengthened adventurers get into a fistfight with each other, there is a risk that they may die. I thought there was no reason for the masked adventurer to accept such a cheap provocation, but she was surprisingly motivated by shadow boxing earlier. Was there a reason that drove her to such an extent? "I'll play witness, then. Both of you come forward." "Oh, then I will get serious, little fella. Knock him off lightly and show us the strength of sorrel, brother." Some of the Sorel and D-class camps were laughing and saying, "This is not even a bet," while others were more extreme, saying, "Don't beat him with one shot, beat him up and make an example out of him." Kaga is watching quietly, a change from earlier. Omiya-san, on the other hand, is loitering and restless. I've never seen her like this before, even though I thought she was always positive and unfazed by anything. But without a doubt, she should be able to win this duel. That man says he'll beat her with one punch, but it must be difficult to even hit the masked adventurer with a punch. This could be our chance. What do you mean? Mishima-kun sneaks an earful. If the masked adventurers win, we may be able to use it as a bargaining card in 2 ways, in the hopeless situation we have been in so far.
One is that we can show our E-class pride. Even though it was a private battle born of a selfish provocation, a win or a loss between the helpers would have some meaning. Since we won, we might be able to negotiate with them to pull out of the fight.
The second is that this duel would shift Kaga's attention to the masked adventurer. Even now, Kaga is keeping a close eye on the duel. It is apparent that if they continue to lose interest in Class E and Omiya-san, we may be able to survive this situation. But that's too selfish of us to want to save only ourselves. I understand what you mean, but Kaga's strength is exceptional. It's not something we can handle. Then we have no choice but to divert his attention.
Certainly, even a masked adventurer could not defeat Kaga, who radiates an aura of that magnitude. I understand that there is no other way, but I can't just go along with Mishima-kun's idea.
Okay, then, let's get started. While I was thinking and worrying about this, the duel began. As they were both facing each other and taking our positions, Manaka was the first to move at the same time as the signal to begin. He stepped forward while saying the name of some technique and tried to swing his fist down in a straight line toward the wooden mask. His speed is so fast and sharp that it could be called level 10. Immediately after, a loud bang. A loud sound that matched the kinetic energy of the fist. But it was not a hit, but a sound of a fist being stopped by a palm grip. The masked adventurer tilted his head. Hazama was not expecting to be caught by an adventurer 2 levels below him with only one hand, and his eyes were wide open in surprise. He is quite upset. I went easy on you before you even realized it, and let go. HMPH. Oh, the masked adventurer, however, would not let go of the fist she had grasped. She swung her fist around and slammed it into the ground. There was a loud bang as he did so, but as expected of a level 10 adventurer, he seemed to still be conscious even after being hit at such a high speed, and the duel did not stop. Oh, you, HMPH. He tried to say something, but before he can, she lifts him up and swings him around again before slamming him to the ground on the other side. That was the tome, and while he was stuck on the ground, brother of Hazama Nakano stopped moving. Stunned by the overwhelming display of power and victory, the classmates who came to their senses shouted out and exploded with joy. My brother would never lose to a little guy like that. He must have played some trick. While we were gut-punching and hugging each other in joy, the younger brother, Hazama Nakano, turned red in the face and started to make accusations. He looks as if he is about to pull out his sword and slash at the masked adventurer, but he doesn't take a step forward and only threatens. He probably knows in his heart of hearts that even his level 10 brother could not face such a strong opponent, that he is no match for her at all. I knew it was faker. What clan do you belong to? Well, it doesn't matter. If you're a faker, you're still a dog of the old nobility. Pushing the brother out of the way while he was still on the ground, Kaga, who had been watching from the back, came forward. What in the world does the word faker mean? He instructed the members behind him to get rid of the one stretching there, and instead of the loose expression he had before, he glared at the masked adventurer with sharp eyes filled with even murderous intent. Immediately after that, a tremendous aura radiated out. Our heads want war. At any rate, I'm going to tear off your mask and expose you. This aura again. The fear that welled up from deep within my chest appealed to me to submit to this man. I want to resist, but my instincts won't allow it. I see them all kneeling down with their heads bowed as if they were kneeling before a king. If he is an adventurer of this caliber, he doesn't even need to fight against someone of our caliber. The masked adventurer, bathed in the hostility and aura of such a man, only tilted her head. Chapter 92. I'm still not far off. Narumi Hanao point of view. My head wants war. At any rate, I'm going to tear off his mask and expose him to the world. A flashy man wearing a lot of gold and jewelry stared at me and said something unintelligible. I have no idea how I got myself into this situation, but if I try to take off the mask, that woman will find out my true identity, so I have to stop him. Masked girl. Run, Satsuki, behind me, says breathlessly. The people in this room are crouching and suffering because of the aura that is being scattered around so indiscreetly. I had experienced the aura of a higher rank with a difference in level, but it only took a moment for my heart to break. All I could do was just give up. It would be impossible to stand up to that situation, except for Oni. If I let it go like this, it would take a huge toll on my body and mind, so I'd better do something about it as soon as possible, but how could I stop it? The flashy guy in front of me has the same sun badge on his chest as the baka I just threw away, so he must be a member of the Sorrel clan. This man must be the one who covered Satsuki-ne's body with bruises. Mom also said that Sorrel is a bunch of scoundrels, and I might as well beat them up without hesitation. What's the matter? Are you intimidated by my aura? He seemed to have a lot of confidence in herself, and he challenged me while standing there without a weapon, not more than a few meters away from me. I guessed from the amount of aura that he might be 1 or 2 levels higher than me, but he should not be able to afford to stand still at such a distance. Is he underestimating my level and speed, or does he have a magic item powerful enough to compete with me? Let's just use the appraisal wand to find out. A 15 centimeters long piece of stick with a magic stone attached to the tip. I put my hand into the pocket where it is kept and let the magic flow through it, then. Less than name. Kaga Daigo greater than less than level, LV22 less than warrior level 10 greater than. Less than status greater than maximum HP, 68 maximum MP, 53 STR, 43 plus 6. Int, 49 VIT, 58 plus 8 AGI, 39 MND, 41 less than skills 4 quarters greater than. Less than disguise probability, minimal. A number of item lists come to mind. This appraisal wand is more accurate than simple appraisal, and can break through fake skills such as fake. The probability of disguise is also minimal, so I can trust it. Although he is one level higher than me, his overall status is lower than mine, so there is no need to take the difference in level into consideration. His job is warrior, which is an intermediate job. He has only 4 skills, which means that he has not expanded any of his skill slots. I've heard that Sorrel is a colors-affiliated clan, but is the information restricted for a terminal clan, or is it just that Oni has great dungeon knowledge? I am sure it is both.
I couldn't find anything to be worried about from the above appraisal results. This duel seems to have the same rule of no weapons as before, and I would definitely like to fight it. There are many things I would like to confirm in a real battle.
Besides, I have a number of things that can turn tables, so I may not have to be so careful. There was no way I could lose. Simple appraisal. I didn't think you got that kind of skill set. Well, that's okay, even you were weak. I'll play a little.
I hear that. Simple appraisal is a factor that causes people to underestimate a fighter if he or she has it, since it takes up one of the valuable skill slots. However, I carry an appraisal wand, so I have already removed the appraisal skill. Incidentally, the existence of this wand is listed at the top of the Narumi family's secret ranking, so it must not be told to anyone, nor must it be revealed.
The man smiles evilly and takes a stance. His arm position is slightly low, and his center of gravity is on his back foot in an orthodox uke stance. Perhaps because he thought I had appraisal skills, he looked more relaxed than before. If he doesn't initiate, I'll go first. Now let's go up. Open double angle bracket accelerator, close double angle bracket. As soon as the blue-white effect of acceleration magic appears at his feet, I kick the ground and closes the distance of several meters in a single blink of an eye. I try to strike my fist into the gaping left cheek, but he reacts instantly, surprised at my speed, and raises his arm to guard me in time. I hit him on top of that guard with unrestrained force. While he's blown right sideways, I turn to the side and this time throw a spinning kick. But I guess he saw this too, because he instantly crosses his arms to guard. Still, it doesn't matter, the initiative is mine. I kick him away and drive him close to the wall, and he reads the direction I'm going and punches me again. But I could see it, so I bent down slightly to duck and counter with a duck. But it too was ducked by a neck movement, and soon I was out of range. Hey, what's that? Maybe this person is strong? Thanks to my status and accelerator, my AGI speed is almost twice as fast as him. I was able to make the first move, but he guarded everything, and on top of that, he even counterattacked. Maybe he was accustomed to fighting against faster opponents. Ha, this is a ton. I've been licking my chops, ha, but now I'm sure I know where you belong. He said something weird again, but what do they mean by belonging? I'm not sure if they found out about the secret society that I created with Oni and the others. It doesn't really matter even if he found out. I suspected it was somewhere under the umbrella of Kunoichi Red because it was a faker, but I didn't realize it was Oboro. I was thinking of just beating you up, but Oboro is the only one I won't tolerate. Kunoichi Red. The uniform there is a very revealing Kunoichi suit. How could I have mistaken them for such a vulgar-looking group? And speaking of the Oboro, it is a fictitious evil organization that uses bad children will be taken away by the Oboro as a form of discipline for children. I guess he is a surprisingly dreamy person to believe in such a fairy tale until he is an adult. But when he became convinced that I was a member of Oboro, he changed his attitude and lit a fire full of hatred in his eyes. Even though we were under the no weapons rule, he brought out a shiny golden sword that he had placed behind his back. From the looks of it, Oboro may really exist and may have been involved in a clan war with Sorrel in the past, but still. I wonder why he still thinks he can win even after the combat he just experienced. I knew that he had a lot of experience in combat, but he still couldn't keep up with my speed. The advantage should still be mine. I wondered if he had the same tactic as mine to turn the tide of the battle. You know how many of our men have been killed at your place? If I bring back your head, you may be promoted to colors. You will be my food right here and now. Oh no, that's not good. Kaga-san is going to use that sword.
The sword is a light green and shines with a pale light green light. It glows a pale, light green color, and a warm wind is slowly drifting through the air. It must be a wind-enchanted weapon. I recall the knowledge I learned from Oni.
Wind enchantments are cutting power up and, what else? Oni said that the same wind enchantment, the cutting power increases, makes a high-frequency sound. This wind-spewing type is not an attack speed grant. Either. It's an impact grant. That big sword is more of a smash than a slash, and if you add to that the shock grant, it becomes difficult to defend against it with decent equipment. If he's going to use a weapon like that, I don't have to be afraid to use it, do I? I jumped to the 30 cm drawstring bag magic bag that was placed behind me, and took out two 1 meter long boost hammers from inside. I take out two of them. The one that glows red periodically has a fire enchantment, and the purple one with a bee stinging electricity at the head has a lightning enchantment. With these, it is enough to fight with a large sword or any other sword that gives impact. There was no way these babies would be defeated by such a shiny weapon. What the heck is that? What a thing to pull out of such a small bag. I've never seen a weapon like that. It's covered with fire and lightning, and on top of she can use both of them? Monsters are fighting monsters. Run. We can't handle it. Omiya, let's get the hell out of here.
But, the men who looked like Sorrel were surprised to see my weapon, started to make a fuss, and ran away at once. The man in front of me could have involved Satsuki and the others, so I nodded and signaled for them to run away. Be that as it may. It's so rude to call me such an innocent and pretty girl a monster.
As if to vent my frustration, I held a hammer weighing about 60 kilograms in each hand and swung them around. At level 21, I can lift a hammer that weighs more than my body weight with one hand without difficulty, but if I swing it without thinking, I myself will fly off in an unexpected direction. I had a hard time with that at first. But thanks to the hours of daily pounding on Brad, I've gotten the hang of swinging it around while maintaining my center of gravity. Today, I'll show you the results of my efforts. TL. Poor Brad, two-handed weapons at the same time, you peepsqueak? He said, and with an angry look on his face, he added more wind to his shiny golden sword. I'm not praising myself, but I've never seen any other adventurers using two swords other than me and Oni, but maybe it's a rarity. I also pass my magic power into the weapon and activate the boost hammer. The head of the hammer opens with a motor sound, and it unfolds like a rocket booster and begins to emit light. This is a weapon with an interesting mechanism that, if wielded vigorously in this state, will emit an explosive flame to support acceleration. While spinning the boost hammer, I takes a stance and strongly imagines Oni fighting style. The ever-changing swordsmanship, the divine speed, and the unyielding fighting spirit that will never break. These images are still vividly replayed in my mind's eye. I'm doing great. I'm still not far behind Oni, but I'm getting there. Thinking of this, my spirits are lifted and my courage overflows one after another. Let's go. Chapter 93 The Power of a True Hero. Kaworu Hayes' point of view punches were thrown at blinding speed, and the air shook as if it were popping with each one. How could she hit Kaga, who radiates such a powerful aura, like a ping-pong ball, and drive her to the wall? The speed and power were unimaginable from her petite physique, and everyone present rolled their eyes, speechless. I can't believe it's as good as this. How in the world did she hide her ability? It was even faster and more powerful than the time when it sank the huge train including Orc Lord in 1 minute. The gap between her humble appearance and her ability makes her even more unfathomable. Still, he is a quintessential member of the Brocade Club. Even though he was outclassed in speed, Kaga was able to successfully guard himself and regain his composure. In the midst of this less than 10-second struggle, he had a vague idea of the identity of the masked adventurer. I suspected it was somewhere under the umbrella of Kunoichi Red, because it was a faker, but I never expected it to be Oboro. Oboro? I've heard rumors about it, but... Hearing this, my classmates also start to groan. The secret society, Oboro. Rumors about it are many and varied. The name of this organization has often appeared behind numerous urban legends and conspiracies, and it is a notorious organization known to all Japanese citizens. None of its members are known to the public, and according to one theory, there is a tremendous bounty on their heads. I have seen many interesting features about them on TV and in magazines. I was skeptical that such an organization even existed, let alone believed in it at all, but Kaga seems convinced. Ignoring the dueling rules of bare-knuckle combat, he took the gaudily decorated greatsword he kept behind him and tried to pull it out of its sheath while channeling his magic power through it. That was an enchanted weapon. The blade glows a dull green, and a wind of magical power blows through it. Enchanted weapons are very rare and expensive, and I hear that even frontline adventurers do not find them so easily. I don't know what kind of effect that thing has, but from the look of panic on the faces of the Sorrel members, it seems to be quite powerful. Seeing this, the masked adventurer also ran behind us and pulled out a huge weapon from a small leather bag. While surprised that the leather bag was a magic bag, I was surprised twice by the unusual weapon she pulled out. Two hammer-shaped weapons that looked heavier than the adventurer himself. Both seem to be enchanted weapons. The red glowing one is probably a fire enchantment, which I know because it is a well-known enchantment. The other one is covered with crackles and purple electricity. I'm not sure what that is. Just looking at it makes me uneasy. It's already dangerous. If those two were to fight with all their might, there would be no safe place for us in this room. Mishima and his classmates around him also sense the danger and begin to evacuate in a hurry. It's a fight between monsters. It's not safe. Run. It's not safe to stay here. Omiya, let's get out of here. But what is about to begin is a fight to the death with no rules. Even if you want to observe, you might as well get out of this room. I pulled on Omiya-san's reluctant hand and together we evacuated to the entrance of the room. The D-class and Sorrels, who had also evacuated in the same manner, seemed interested in this top-notch duel, and they crowded into the narrow entrance of the room to watch. Therefore, things like, "Don't push me," "Hey, where are you touching?"
It was inevitable that there would be some confusion about the contact. I also felt like I was touched on the buttocks, but I don't think they would do such a thing in an emergency situation like this, so I'll pretend it was just my imagination.
The masked adventurer holds two hammers in each hand, turns them around, and takes a stance. That is a style called Nito Ryu. Two swords. Kaga was furious when he saw it, but I guess that's true. Generally speaking, the two swords used by adventurers are considered weak. The Nito style itself is not uncommon, and even today there are a number of Nito Kabuto styles, such as Naitanichiryu, dual wield, established by Miyamoto Musashi, that have been handed down from generation to generation. In fact, it is said that Nito users were unparalleled in strength on the battlefield, and I have fought them several times in Kendo, but they were really tough opponents. However, when adventurers fight each other, it is a different story. Weapon skills are the most important and most powerful attack for adventurers. If you use a two-sword sword, only your dominant arm will fire, and the power will be halved. In addition, the power of some skills will not even be activated, which is a fatal problem. It is common knowledge among adventurers that there is no merit in going to such lengths to maintain a two-fisted style. Still, is there any reason to play the two-faced sword? I don't know if that masked adventurer really belongs to, but she is certainly not a simpleton. If she is aware of the disadvantage of weakening her weapon skills, it is not surprising that she would have some reason to use the two-fisted sword. Without regard to such speculation, the masked adventurer swung his hammers lightly and passed magic power through them. Then the two hammers transformed and began to glow with a strange noise. What is it about a top-notch adventurer that is so unknown? They stared at each other for a few seconds and then both of them leaned forward. It begins. Just as they take their first step, the distance between them instantly closes and immediately afterward, a heavy thud rings out. The impact sends them flying, and a cloud of dust and smoke curls up in a circle. Rather than the sound of a hammer and a great sword colliding, it was probably the sound of enchantments on the weapons colliding with each other. The masked adventurer immediately swung the other hammer and struck one after the other in rapid succession. Each swing of the hammers emitted a powerful flash of light, and they were being fired at a frightening speed. It is as if the right-hand and left-hand hammers are attacking independently, yet complementing each other's gaps, a strangely accomplished movement. If he were swinging a weapon heavier than her own body weight so freely, no matter how strong her muscles were, Jay would be swung around herself. But for some reason she is not. TL. Once again I repeat, there is confusion of masked adventurer's gender, so she both are being used, so just don't get confused. I wonder if she is balancing himself well with the timing of swinging the two hammers, but I don't know how she is doing this as it is too fast to see clearly. Kaga, on the other hand, is using his large sword to block all of those storm-like strikes. He changed the tilt of his sword or took a step back. The impact of the blows must have been substantial, but he managed to kill the momentum and not be hit by a single bullet. Kaga's dynamic vision and combat experience are extraordinary. He is indeed a member of the designated strategy clan. Still, they were still in a difficult position. Kaga invoked his skills here in order to counterattack. Don't you dare lick the Brocade Association, Flame Arms. A red, fiery effect wraps around both arms, a skill that increases STR muscular strength. The first time he received the hammer, he repelled it. After a few slashes, he took a big step forward from the upper stance and released a weapon skill, as if to return the favor. Pop, Butsushiri, the great sword is swung down with tremendous speed, as if cutting everything in front of it. A shockwave blasted several meters in front of him, and a low earth tremor echoed through the air. If you were to take a serious hit from that, even if you were wearing heavy armor, you would not be able to escape serious damage. But when the masked adventurer saw the skill motion, she moved out of the skill's area of effect and into evasion. She also swung her hammer and went into a sprint to counter. I won't let you. Kaga activates something, cloaks his legs with a glowing blue-white effect, turns sharply, and parries the hammer. Then he not only received the hammer, but also returned the favor by slamming it into her repeatedly. The two men engaged in a dizzying battle, switching positions with the masked adventurer. TL. Lines like these, Kaga's movements have quickened. His speed has increased as if we had never seen it before, right after he used that skill that makes his feet glow blue-white. The masked adventurer was using the same kind of skill, but it was definitely a speed-up type skill. His wrist was glowing just before he activated it, so I wonder if it was not a skill he possessed, but was activated from the magic tool in his bracelet. But still, it's a pretty close attack and defense. The speeds of the two are now evenly matched, and the masked adventurer no longer seems to have a clear advantage in speed, if not in speed. In fact, Kaga, with his superior experience against other people, may have the advantage. Die, a sharp thrust with the full force of his great sword, which has a long reach. He takes another step forward and slashes back from close range, then hits the side of the head with a Kesazank Sagiri. It is a flowing series of attacks. Both the speed of the attack and the step out are extremely fast, and all the slashes seem to be flying at almost the same time. This is the ultimate performance of a great sword user. The masked adventurer, unable to resist, flew backwards to take up the distance and try to regroup. Even if it was just a last-minute evasion, she must have tremendous strength just to be able to avoid that series of attacks. But now, the accelerator's advantage is gone, isn't it? Oboro, you're nothing more than a mere minnow if your speed doesn't work for you. He smiles as if convinced of victory and points the tip of his great sword at them to challenge them. Hearing this, Sorrel and the D-class students were in high spirits. They were very reluctant to take part in the battle, but cannot help themselves without saying, kill him with flamboyance, and he's only an E-class helper after all. The situation would have to be reversed if Kaga, with his superior combat experience, could also use accelerator. The classmates could not hide their somber expressions. Surprised that their helper was so strong, they were still devastated by the cruel reality that they had no chance against Kaga. If this continues, she may be killed. I wanted to do something to stop him, but I knew that if we were there, we would only be in the way. As I was devastated by my helplessness, I looked to the side and noticed Omiya's face, as if she still believed in something. What kind of face do you see under that mask now that you know that speed no longer works? Is it impatience? Or is it fear? I'm going to rip off that filthy mask right now and expose you. Kaga lowers his center of gravity, holding his great sword out again. The masked adventurer, who should be in a tight spot, is just tilting her head. My speed? The thing is that my real speed is not this. It was the first time I heard her lovely tone of voice. It is a thin, small voice, but it sounds clear and clear. There is no hint of impatience or fear in her voice. On the contrary, it even sounds full of confidence. Kaga, perhaps sensing the same thing, turns off his smile and asks back with a doubtful expression on his face.
Ah, what a joke you are, saying about real speed.
If that's the case, I'll show you. The masked adventurer voice was magnified. I was so amazed that he was able to whisper in everyone's ear. I'll show you. The power of a true hero who have defeated and destroyed even the Demon King. The masked adventurer whispered, and then spread her hands with hammers and danced softly and lightly, and then said as if to extinguish all of Kaga's hope. Shadow, step, the world plunged into darkness. Chapter 94 Dark Shadow, Kaworu Heisa's point of view. Then I'll show you. The power of the true hero. Power of the true heroes who have vanquished even the Demon King. The masked adventurer spreads out her hands holding his hammer and spins softly, spinning the name of her skill as if she were singing. Open double angle bracket shadow step close double angle bracket. The hall, which had been reasonably bright, suddenly became dark, and a hazy fog settled around her feet. I feel as if a presence that had been so weak from the start has faded a little further. But that is about the only thing that has changed. It may be a vision obstructing skill that dims the image and makes it difficult to see. It seems to be a skill I've never seen before, but it doesn't come from a magic tool, does it? Kaga said, staring at the masked adventurer from top to bottom. The sorrel members watching around them thought the same thing, and began to shout one after the other. He's bluffing. Even if you do something out of spite, it won't work on Kaga-san. You clever little bastard, hurry up and go to hell. The D-class students are also joining in, shouting loudly and sending out jeers. However, there seems to be a hint of bitterness in their voices. The fact that she were able to go toe-to-toe with Kaga, who was expected to win hands down, must have put a lot of pressure on them. However, the fact that our position is still difficult has not changed. If we were to lose, we, the E-class, would be thoroughly beaten so that we would never be able to emerge again, and our future could be cut off. In her case, the worst that could happen would be the loss of her life. TL. So cold. Is she really a heroine? But I don't think she will be beaten without incident.
Even in the face of Kaga's dense killing intent, the masked adventurer shows no signs of fleeing, remaining aloof and unperturbed, not appearing to be in any kind of a corner. And if it is true that she belongs to a legendary clan, it would not be surprising if she is hiding something special. Yes, even that skill, for example.
Omiya-san, do you know what effect it has? It's a skill that makes you very fast. After all, she remembered it too. What? According to Omiya, it's not a vision blocking skill that darkens the surroundings, but a speed buffing skill. But the way she was talking earlier, she said there are other things that she can remember. It's starting. Mishima's voice brought me to my senses, and I looked ahead to see Kaga with his center of gravity lowered and the tip of his great sword poised to point at the masked adventurer. The look on his face was not the mocking look he had earlier, but rather a sharp, steely look in his eyes. Perhaps he sensed that the skill was not a bluff. The masked adventurer, on the other hand, is not holding her weapon, but rather dancing as if she is flying. The two weapons together are quite heavy, but the way they move so lightly is a testament to their high level of ability. Then Kaga took a big step forward and kicked the ground. Ooh. With explosive acceleration, he closes the distance and stretches out his arm to twist the tip of his great sword into the masked adventurer's throat. The gale-like speed drew cheers from the crowd. The masked adventurer dances a half-turn to avoid the high-speed thrust, then vanishes from the scene, only to appear right behind Kaga, swinging her hammer. Kaga turns around in desperation to guard against the hammer, but the impact of the hammer striking at such a terrifying speed is too much for him to overcome, and he is sent flying with great force. Ahead of him, the masked adventurer appeared as if she had moved instantaneously once again. Did he warp? She's just too fast to see. Her skills are really amazing. When Mishima asked him about it, Omiya-san explained that it was so fast that she could go very fast while shaking her clenched fist. The standing movements that should have been barely visible just a few minutes ago have become impossible for me to follow with my eyes. If I look carefully, I can only notice the slightest black shadow. The masked adventurers, who had been blown away, turned themselves into invisible shadows and attacked Kaga in all directions as she braced herself. A loud metallic clash of swords and hammers rings out, sending sparks flying all around her. The position of the masked adventurer changes each time, and my classmates watch with fluttering eyes.
A jet of intense light shoots from the hammer, further increasing the speed of the attack. From the sound of the hammer hitting the big sword, it seems that the power of each shot has also jumped considerably. Kaga, who had been glued to the sword in order to deal with the countless attacks from all directions, tries to enter a skill motion from a position that is painfully impossible for him.
Fuck you, open double angle bracket delay / close double angle bracket, double, open double angle bracket full swing close double angle bracket. The delayed slash is a great technique that sends two powerful slashes flying. It is the strongest weapon skill of the vanguard, and is treated as the main firepower even by the frontline strategy clan. The masked adventurer swings her hammer sideways in time and enters the full swing skill motion. Full swing is a one-shot technique. It is a single-shot skill with high firepower, but it does not have the firepower of the delayed slash. However, both the right hand and left hand of the masked adventurer are generating the aura effect of the weapon skill. It's as if she's firing two full swings at the same time. The two slashes, cloaked in undulating wind, are released almost simultaneously, colliding head-on with the two open double-angle bracket full-swing close double-angle bracket shots. One red and the other purple enchanted makes shockwave that cut through the entire room, and then, drowned out. Kaga's eyes widen in surprise, but is that in response to the two slashes being drowned out, or was it the full swing from both the left and right hammers? The skill is hardened and Kaga cannot move for a short period of time. It was the masked adventurer who moved first. The balance is finally broken when the hammer releasing the purple electricity is shot into Kaga's left leg with explosive speed. Kaga's lower body is covered with light alloy armor, but that armor is meaningless when the hammer strikes at such high velocity. The blow bent her leg in an unexpected direction and sent additional electricity coursing through his body. Staggering and moaning, he is on the verge of collapsing.
Still, he manages to avoid falling by using his great sword as a support and tries to open the distance, but the masked adventurer will have none of it. She has already raised her hammer and is in pursuit. A few shots were exchanged, but the sword was sent flying and then his dominant arm was broken as the hammers rained down on him from both sides. Finally, he fainted and was unable to move.
Too strong. To one-sidedly overwhelm the holder of the Order of the Golden Lion, I shudder at the strength that far exceeds my imagination. She didn't really mean it during the fight or when Kaga provoked her with the accelerator skill or whatever it was called. The only way to stop her in that state is to call in the colors, who are even better than the Brocade Association. The haze around her feet converges and the light level in the room returns to normal. What did the girl standing alone in the center of the room is thinking? She pulled out a wire-like object from her magic bag and began to wrap Kaga in it. His right hand and left leg should be broken and useless, but still strong enough to kill someone like us. I guess she tied him up so that he wouldn't go berserk when he woke up. On the other hand, the Sorrel members seemed to be shocked and were in a state of panic. It's impossible that Kaga-san was defeated. It's trying to eat Kaga-san, it's a monster. We're going to get eaten too, hurry up and run. Wait a minute. Perhaps thinking that they would be the next target, the Sorrel members, revealing their fears, leave at once, followed by the D-class students, who begin to panic and flee in a hurry. But if she is serious, none of them will be able to escape, though she doesn't seem to intend to do so. In the midst of all this confusion, Omiya-san ran straight out. You should not do anything dangerous. She gently embraced the petite body, and the masked adventurer also hugged back. The appearance of the two is like a pair of sisters who are on the best of terms with each other. She was in the middle of a fight with your weapons out not a long while before. I had so many questions I wanted to ask them, but I decided to leave them alone for now. I didn't think he'd even come out to attack and capture someone from the Brocade Association. I'm in awe. Mishima-kun spoke to me with a dour look on his face. He had recovered the arm terminal that had been taken from him by the Sorrel men and had been in touch with the headquarters of the class competition. He lightly explained the situation up to now, and they said that the teacher could come here directly. Fortunately, he was close to this floor and would be there in 20 minutes.
Did the teacher say anything to you? He said that everyone here should stop their activities and stand by. Well, if it gets this big, the teacher will have to go out and make a decision. He also has to decide what to do with the man who is lying there.
Behind Mishima-kun's gaze is Kaga, who is bound face down. We were able to escape the difficulty because of the presence of the masked adventurer, but originally it was not something we could have handled once such a fierce person intervened. How is the school going to take this time? Well, however, it was a relief to see the panicked faces of the D-class students. I guess so. We had been through a lot, but we were not going to stay down forever. The actual D-class is really a very good place to start out our journey to top.
TL, classroom of the elite vibes. After that, Omiya-san, Mishima-kun, and I discussed what we would do. The results of the other events in Class E were not good enough, so our score in the total magical stone group would be crucial for us to make a comeback from this point on. We must not fail, so we need to carefully calculate how many magic wolves we can hunt in the remaining time.
But this time it is not only a bad thing. We now know that Omiya is strong, and behind her is a masked adventurer who has even defeated a member of the Brocade Club. Now that we have more safety, we will be able to hunt more aggressively, and if we work hard, we should be able to reach Class D well. Kaga wakes up as we are discussing our opinions and making a detailed hunting plan. Although it is safe, because she has already taken away his armor and tied it tightly with wire, I am still afraid. GGH, me, aren't you going to kill me? We will hand you over to the teachers. She's not Oboro, and she doesn't want anything to do with you anymore. Well, we'll leave it at that. Someone's here. Looking back, I see people running at great speed from far away. In the lead is Mirai-sensei, or better known as Dr. Mirai, the teacher in charge of the E-class. He has a long, thin sword in his hand and is cutting down the entangling demon wolves with a single blow.
With that momentum, he quickly enters the room and walks toward Kaga, who is tied up, and the masked adventurer. Even though he has been running at that speed for this long, he is not out of breath.
My name is Mirai, and I am a teacher at the School for Adventurers. You must be Daigo Kaga of the Brocade Club. Please arrange for him to be taken to the emergency room as soon as possible. Also, you are wearing a mask and are not registered as a E-class assistant, but do you have an adventurer ID? Dr. Mirai tries to find out the identity of Kaga and the masked adventurer while operating the screen from his arm terminal. His tone is not his usual instructive, but rather polite, as if he were dealing with a superior guest. He is concerned about the word, oboro, even though he feels uncomfortable with it. Ah, I'm sure you have your own positions and you don't have to present them to us, but you guys. He looks back at me and his voice changes to a low, cool tone. Are you aware that if you get outside help that are not listed on the auxiliary personnel roster, you will be immediately disqualified? Wait a minute, I have not heard of such a rule, what is it? We weren't even told that helpers were allowed. Asking for help from unregistered people is a disqualifying subject, to which Omiya-san and Mishima-kun vehemently protest. We weren't even told that helpers were allowed, and there was no way we could have known that there was a registration requirement. Although I bite back from saying that this may be too unreasonable, nonetheless the teacher's attitude is as cold as ever. We are now going to deliberate on the treatment of the total magical stone group, but don't expect any favorable results. All students present here are ordered to move to the administration headquarters located in the plaza in front of the guild as soon as possible and wait there.
But, there are only 2 days left for the class competition, including today. We are on the 6th floor of the dungeon. If we go outside and come back in now, we will have very little time left to hunt. If we stop, our chance of entunirung the table will be completely wiped out, even though the interference from Class D is gone and we are just getting started. But why didn't Dr. Murai teach the helper rule? Did he think that even if he taught us, we wouldn't be able to call in any significant helpers? And disqualification. This makes it sound like he was setting us up so that we wouldn't win.
Dr. Murai looks down at us with eyes that seem to have a terrible bottoming out effect. The total magic stone quantity group had no choice but to leave the place in a state of doubt and disbelief.
Chapter 95 Majin's Constraints. So I want to go outside. Can you tell me what I should do?
Just as the three of us, Amama, Kuga, and I, were about to win a fierce battle against the lesser demon, the demon appeared. The red eyes filled with madness were in contrast to the still childishly mild face. He was a far cry from the mature-looking demon I remembered. If he even knew about us, I had to wonder if he might be a player. When I had a discussion with Lisa in the park in the middle of the night before, I had assumed that the player might have gotten into not only the E-class students, but also the higher classes, but I had no idea it was a demon person. It seems a little too cheaty, though. Ha, don't just stand there and tell me.
Who are you? What skill did you just use?
Don't ask irrelevant questions. I'm the one asking the questions. Yes, 1 point deduction. Kuga-san took a different distance from when he first approached us, and asked him questions with caution. She seems to want to ask about his true identity and what skill he had used that topped the lesser demon. The demon, on the other hand, replies with an innocent smile, if you lose 3 points, I'll kill you, but his eyes are lethargic and he doesn't seem to be in a proper state. Yes, those eyes.
The eyes that seem to be in a dangerous state of mind, like they could kill someone. Perhaps the player's unique skills, like my, gluttony, or Lisa's, rut, are putting a strain on his or her mind. Or it could be a side reaction to the unique body of a demon. I have heard that although a Majin or fiend looks like a human, their physical abilities, magical properties, and mental structure are very different from those of humans. In any case, it is dangerous to stay in the vicinity of such a person for any length of time. It would be better if I took the initiative to answer the question and have him released as soon as possible.
This demon said he wanted to go outside. If he meant he wanted to go outside the dungeon, why not just use the gate or walk out?
By outside, I assume you mean outside the dungeon. Why can't you just go out normally?
I don't know. I couldn't use the eject function no matter how many times I tried, and neither the return stone nor the gate function worked. When I tried to leave on foot, I would get lost, my body would get tired, and if I tried to force my way out, I would get sent back to where I was. He tried all kinds of escape magic, eject, and escape items, but they all failed. Movement is also blocked by some kind of power. At a loss for what to do, he happened to hear the faint scream of a demon, so he flew in that direction and miraculously made it here. Is the demon resonating with the soul of the demon? I've been trying to get out every day since I came to this world, and this is the chance I finally got. I'm not letting anyone leave until I know I can get out.
Dimension Isolator. He raised his fist and released the skill as if he was gripping the sky tightly. Then a creaking sound is heard from the entire hall, and immediately afterward it begins to distort geometrically. The sudden activation of the skill causes Amama to look around in surprise.
What did you do? My eyes are flickering. Nothing much, I just closed the space in this area so that no one can escape with the return stone. Damn, can someone even do that? The main use of this skill is by special boss monsters in the deeper levels, but is it something that even players can learn?
But, I don't know how you can get out. I won't let you out until I know. Think about it.
Kuga-san's expression of disapproval is evident as it is decided without question that she will be locked in this room. If, nevertheless, there is no answer, then who knows? Or is there a possibility that the same demon person would know? I remember that Obaba once told me that she could not leave her store freely when I took a quest to defeat Bloody Baron. That's why she had ordered me to collect the thing, and it's possible that she was in the same situation as this demon.
Did you ask your other friends about it? That could be a characteristic of the fiend.
Fiend? Like demon? Like me? I've never been able to get anywhere, so I haven't met or talked to any of the other fiends. But it might be a good idea. I can't move, so go call or ask anyway. I can't call them, but I might be able to at least go ask Furufaru, but first I have to get him out of here. Well, I'll break the blockade, but I'll hold you on as a Hostage so others won't escape. Open double angle bracket cryonics prison close double angle bracket. What? Narumi, watch out. The demon turned his palm toward me and tried to use his skill on me. Seeing this, Tenma-san quickly put her body in to protect me, but instead she was hit with the freezing prison and instantly covered in ice.
Oh, why are you protecting Butao? What he had just used was an action-inhibiting magic used by advanced magic professionals. Since it is not just ice, it would be impossible to escape even if Tenma-san used monstrous power. Even if I tried to disarm it, it would be impossible for me to do so. However, her life is not in immediate danger.
I don't care either way, but if you don't get there soon, she might freeze to death, you know? Hurry up. Oops. Deactivate all your skills, otherwise. Perhaps not seeing a good future if she continued to do as the demon said, Kuga-san, who had killed her presence, came up behind him, placed a knife to the demon's neck, and demanded that he release his skills. But the threat had no effect. On the contrary, it had the opposite effect. It's useless. That thing can't even hurt me, but you still need a punishment, right? As soon as she hears the answer, she tries to push the knife in with force, but the blade at the base of her neck is plucked at an unseen speed and is pushed down with that alone. Kuga-san, realizing the overwhelming difference in STR muscular strength, let go of the knife and move away, and pulled out her main weapon, a dagger, and held it at the ready. She probably used appraisal to check the difference in level, and thought she had a chance to win, so she set up his attack. However, the larger the difference in level, the larger the margin of error in the appraisal results, and even more so, the more bullshit the numerical values are displayed. It can be said that it can't be helped because she has never met an opponent of this level before, but even if it is not a good idea to provoke that fiend unnecessarily. Anyway, wait, calm down. His eyes widened in the color of madness, and he reached out his hand toward Kuga-san, trying to grab something. I have a bad feeling about that magic. I absolutely have to stop it. I hastily pulls out my sword and slashes at him, but without even looking, he plucks the blade with one hand. Katona-chan has a deadly death penalty? Ah? The fiend crushes something. Was it funny? What did you just do? I tried to hit him with all her might, but he grabbed me by the arm and punched me away. The vision goes round and round, and the right arm is so hot that it makes me pass out. I mean, it must hurts. One can tell just by looking at my arm, which is twisted in a funny direction. Was she blown up to the wall in that instant? I couldn't see what had happened. The demon looked at me as if he was staring at something trivial. I'm not going to let a pigtailed pig beat me. Next time you come at me, I'll pull your head off.
Recovery. While enduring the pain that made me feel like I was going to pass out, I cast a recovery magic towards my broken arm. The broken bone should have been attached by doing this, so the connection between the nerve and the bone should have been successful, but the pain and the swelling have not gone down much. Blood continues to flow slowly from the shredded skin. But that's all right for the time being. Wow, that's a great endurance. But it still looks different from the pigtails I know. It's Sota Narumi, right? You're kind of skinnier than I thought you'd be. He put his hand on my chin and asked, how could that sexual harasser come to such a place in the hierarchy? All I could do was wait for the pain to subside while sweating. Still, in order to break through the current situation, I desperately try to catch my breath and think.
The three of us were about to join forces to defeat the demon and return in a big circle of friendship.
I look at Kuga-san, who is not even twitching. I thought we had made a backroom pact and would be able to live our school life quietly from now on, but my heart is about to burst. On the other hand, my kind-hearted best friend, Amama-san, was put on ice because she defended me. I don't know how much strength she will have if she continue to lose body heat like that. I have to do something quickly.
Is it best to honestly go to Furu to ask? If I went to ask her, would there be any guarantee that he would let Tenma go? And is he the kind of guy who would keep his word when he would let Kuga-san die just because she was in the way?
After all, players are dangerous for people living in this world. Because of their power and knowledge, they always do unexpected things. Even if this demon goes out, I don't think he will do nothing and live peacefully. Then.
Oh, I see. I might be able to solve this problem if I kill this guy. The spatial sealing skill and freezing magic will be released without question once this guy is dead. The revival of Kuga-san should succeed with a high probability, since not much time has passed. If I hurry back and consult with Sarah-san, she may be able to ask the saint to do it for us.
TL, awaken. If I remember correctly, the level of this demon was probably in the late 30s. The difference in level seems tremendous, but I would rather die than give up at this point. Of course, I will not die in vain, and I will win at any cost, but there is no way I can fight a long-term battle against this level of opponent, so I have to make a plan to finish him off with a single blow for sure.
To do so, I would need to release my skills with the best buffs I could muster at the moment, but I would surely be killed if I were to pile up my buff skills in front of him. Then what should I do? Hey, what kind of NPC would ignore me? The tone of his voice was in state of worry like, oh dear, but there was a lot of murderous intent in his eyes as he looked at me. The next time I ignore him, he'll kill you. I'm Sota Narumi. I'll use the gate and go to Obaba's place right away. You are being very honest, aren't you? But I don't think you'll be able to come back if you use the floor gate, *1, so you'll make a gate right here and leave it open. Oh, thank you, I'll be right back. The gate was created in front of me and I can go through it with magic power, and in an instant, my vision will be rewritten and I will be transferred to the square in front of Obaba's store. Mobilizing all of my mental strength, which is about to shatter at any moment, I immediately draws up a magic circle of open double angle bracket Satanikia stem cell close double angle bracket, and then activates it. The right arm, which was connected to the miscellaneous by a strong HP regenerative effect, is repaired in the blink of an eye with a cloud of blood. Even at this level the load is still high, but it's well within the acceptable range. The next step is to prepare to draw a magic circle for the strongest buffing skill I can use, Overdrive. I haven't used this since that bonehead. Wait for me, Tenma-san, Kuga-san, soon, I'll come to your rescue. *1, floor gate. A gate located in a dungeon area. To jump to a specific floor other than the first floor, you must register your magic power at that floor in advance. This term is used to distinguish it from open double angle bracket gate close double angle bracket, which can be learned by skill. Chapter 96 The Maiden in the Ice, Tenamakira's point of view. A boy with a big horn on his head appeared and shot something at Narumi. I quickly intervened, but found myself trapped inside a transparent crystal. This is the first time I've seen this magic. I think it's ice, but I'm not sure because it's not cold and I can still breathe. The armor I'm wearing has an air conditioning system that regulates humidity and temperature so it can withstand temperatures in the tens of degrees below zero, and it also has a function to produce oxygen, so even if I were submerged in water or completely sealed in ice, I wouldn't have a problem for an hour or so. No, actually, there is. Toilets. What to do? Our original plan was to look around the beautiful hall, eat snacks and have a nice chat with Narumi while summarizing our journey to this point. However, the battle unexpectedly turned out to be a battle due to that Baka calling up a big demon, and just when I thought it was over, this is what I got. I was so surprised and nervous that I had to go to the bathroom. If I had known this was going to happen beforehand, I would have worn a heavy-duty diaper. I let my guard down. TL. I don't want to be disrespectful, but is it really important right now? As I was pondering what to do, the new butler, her name was Kuga or something like that, was shot with a strange magic right in front of me, and Jay collapsed as if her strings had been severed. For a moment, I was surprised to see her dead, but upon closer inspection, I saw that SSHE was breathing slightly, so I guessed she was still alive. Perhaps it was a sleep spell.
But Narumi, who misunderstood the magic, was distraught, and on the spur of the moment, he punched the boy. No, it was the other way around. He was punched to the wall with great force, but from this angle, you can't see, well. I was so surprised that even that strong Narumi couldn't avoid it. How strong is that boy? Narumi seems to be injured, but I wonder if he will be okay. I need to do something about this ice as soon as possible so I can check on him. Oh, I can't believe that even my monstrous strength doesn't seem to be able to scare it away. It's not normal ice after all. It is not normal ice after all. If this continues, Narumi will be in danger and will end up as that girl Kuga.
As I was scratching the surface of the ice, he invoked some kind of purple light and Narumi-kun entered it and disappeared. It must have been some kind of movement magic. Just bear with me a little longer, Akira-chan. I suddenly realized that the horned boy had come right in front of me and was talking to me in a friendly manner. He seems to know who I am, but I don't recognize him at all. It's not my relative's child, is it? I mean, I'm very curious about that big curly horn growing out of his side of his head. It doesn't look removable, but I wonder what it is. I'm going to teach him a lesson, but I will make sure he doesn't die. He'll never be allowed near you again. Don't worry, as I'm your only ally. TL. Bako refers to the horned boy or Majin. Saying this, Bako gently touches the ice and winks. I wonder who the sexual harasser is. Why is it that he gives me a very kind look, but he gives Narumi a murderous look? As for the new butler's fall, he explains with gestures that he only knocked him out because he had no choice because he was out of control. He said that he had set up a surprise to make it look like instant death magic, and when the Narumi took it seriously and became distraught, he turned the tables on him and made him pay for it. Apparently, the sexual harasser he said was referring to Narumi. I thought it was too much to be misunderstood, even though Narumi is such a kind person. After that, he continued to talk to me about various things.
He asked me to hire him as a bodyguard when I go out because he is strong. He asked me to go to school so he can go through the procedures. He asked me to let him become my potential boyfriend, and many other crazy things. I don't care about those things right now. I just want him to get me out of the ice as soon as possible. I've been saying this out loud for a while now, but he doesn't seem to hear my voice at all. I can hear Bako's voice, but how does this ice work?
Right behind Bako, who is talking to me excitedly while twisting his body and doing strange poses, I saw a figure trying to come out of the purple light. It's Narumi, but there was something strange about him. I'm back and Narumi is already ready to shoot some skills, holding an eerie curved sword covered with black mist in his hand, and a dark red open double angle bracket or a closed double angle bracket from his entire body. A spectacularly dense magical power and open double angle bracket or a closed double angle bracket is converging in his hand. His normally mild and gentle expression was dyed with the colors of rage and murderous intent.
I damn you to death. Agar's blade.
As soon as Bako turned around, his vision was filled with light, and a roar echoed through the air. Is this the same type of skill as the one that topped the Great Demon? TCH, that was shallow. Open double angle bracket fly close double angle bracket. I won't let you go. After floating softly, Bako tries to gain distance by accelerating upward to fall. He is flying while holding his arm, but if you look closely, one can see that his right arm is missing. It seems to have been cut off by his earlier skill. In contrast, Narumi-kun kicked up in the air and ran up in a zigzag. They both started flying as a matter of course, but I didn't hear that you could do that. What is about to happen now? In an attempt to shoot down the pursuing Narumi, hundreds of blue magic bullets were summoned at the same time and released without a pause. The white hall was dyed in a dazzling blue light, and magic bullets the size of a knob rained down like a shower. Narumi moves through the barrage of magic bullets, avoiding them as if he were bouncing through the air, or using his sword to repel any magic bullets that might hit him directly. In no time at all, he was within a few meters of Bako and swung his black, blurred curved sword at him. Fuck you, you little shit. No fuck you, you Butao. Bako immediately raises his left arm above his head, too, and out of thin air he pulls out a huge scythe that is longer than his height and swings it. The blade glows blue-white, but it is unclear what enchantment it contains.
When the reddish-black mist and shining white light intersect above, leaving afterimages, a slashing battle unfolds with blinding speed. Near the ceiling, near the wall. Immediately afterwards, the stone floor is rolled up with shockwaves, and with a yell, they slash at each other with all their might in multiple layers.
What is this? In less than a minute, there were scratches all over the walls, floor, and ceiling. I guess even such a large cathedral hall is too cramped for those two. The heavy impact and metallic sound was so heavy that it echoed even in the ice. From the claw marks left on the walls and ground, it can be assumed that each of those slashes had a power equal to or greater than our skills. The sound of explosion and light shimmering in between the shots, so they must be fighting with magic skills at the same time. But nonetheless this is awesome. In the sky above, two people are flying in all directions at an amazing speed amidst the confusion of magic bullets, and slashes are being struck with a yell. The slashes are not just being struck, but there are many feints, and the magic bullets are being used as a tactical tactic to activate weapon skills. It was a battle beyond anything I had ever seen or imagined. As far as I know, adventurers are all those who strive to master their skills. Swordsmen are sword-wielders, axemen are axe-wielders, mages are magicians, and so on. It was only natural. The skills and equipment of the melee and magic professions are completely different, and even within the same melee profession, the position and tactics of a dagger and a two-handed axe wielder are very different.
It is obvious that if you are involved in such different fields, you will end up halfway in everything. It is the same logic as the fact that no professional can play baseball and soccer at the same time. Kurosaki, the chief butler who is the most skilled in the Tenma family, has also continued to use only one weapon and has entered a realm where he can be called a master.
But the battle taking place in the skies above us now is a wonderful fusion of two completely different fields, melee weapons and magic. Magic is being used to guide the weapon into spacing, or magic is being shot into the air in a flowing manner as a means of continuous attack. It's a tactic I've never seen before, but perhaps this is the ultimate in martial arts.
How did they learn to fight like this?
This kind of tactic is not something that can be acquired by simply following the curriculum at an adventurer school. Nor is it innate. It is not possible to play a tactical game like this based on intuition alone. The level of tactical perfection is too high. He must have acquired a tremendous amount of combat knowledge, as well as tremendous training and combat experience. If so, where in the world did he get this? I was so fascinated by the high level of combat, but then I remembered that the killing spree started because of a misunderstanding between Narumi and Bako. Bako didn't seem to be a bad boy, and he misunderstood Narumi. I have to stop this fight somehow, but I can't do anything because I can't move and my voice can't be heard because of this ice. I mean, if I don't go to the toilet soon. While I was in such a lonely struggle, the battlefield was changing at a dizzying pace. Bako's right arm, which had been amputated, has somehow been restored to its original position, and he is dexterously using his right hand to continuously fire magic bullets while drawing a huge magic circle in the air with his left hand, which is holding a large sickle. As the magic circle nears completion, you can see the surrounding magic density rapidly increasing. The scale of the magic circle far exceeded the magic power of the magic circle used by the great demon. I wondered if he was planning to unleash something like that here. But before the magic circle was completed, Narumi succeeded in approaching, grabbed the big horn on Bako's head, and slammed it against the wall of the cathedral. With that, the magic circle fizzles out. Grind it down, oh, I died DDD. With his head held against the wall, Narumi-kun runs vigorously along the wall. He seems to be trying to grind it down like grated radish, but Bako's head is surprisingly sturdy, and on the contrary, the wall and the stone pillar are getting smashed. There's no limit to how far a stone head can go. After a few dozen meters of wall busting, Bako ducks and finally escapes. He brushes the dust from his head and is filled with anger. Ha 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 ha, Ariel, and overdrive, and your disgusting behavior. I wondered what kind of a shit player you are. You're disaster. You're not only a big jerk in Dun X, but you're also a jerk to my little Akira. I'll kill you. When he says he will show no mercy, he releases his aura and creates a large swell. The aura has no physical effect, but the surrounding rubble is blown away and spherical flashes of light are emanating from it. But still, I wonder if his entire body is made of mithril. Also, what did he mean when he said that Narumi was a jerk to me? I didn't know you were over here too. I was just about to kill you too. He slowly held up his curved sword as he staggered. From what I saw in the fight earlier, I thought Narumi was the stronger fighter, but he was breathing hard and looked like he was exhausted, and, what can I say? He is thin and it's as if he's a different person. His plump limbs are slender, and his trademark magnificent drum belly is nowhere to be seen. His face has also sharpened up and he looks like a different person, but his languid eyes and face are still clearly visible. What is the meaning of this?
You. As I was trembling in the ice, the new butler, who had collapsed nearby, woke up. Although she was in a dizzy state for a while, she immediately started scurrying around with her knife at the ready when she realized that her surroundings had changed drastically due to the storm. Come to think of it, even though most of the cathedral is a pile of rubble, the area around us and the new butler are unharmed, perhaps because they were able to avoid us during the fierce battle.
Narumi, who had mistakenly thought the new butler had been killed, was so surprised that his eyes were wide open and his mouth was gaping open, with such a stunned expression. He was punched out by Bako. Chapter 97 Big Tears. Ah, damn it, it's too late to deactivate it. Akira-chan, where are you going? Don't follow me. When the Majin deactivated the cryonics prison, the ice that had been covering her quickly became smaller and smaller, and Amama-san, who had turned inward, rolled out, and hurriedly ran off somewhere. The Majin tried to follow her, but he was rejected with a shrug and a pouty look on Akira-chan's face. What's going on, Sota Narumi? Explain to me what happened while I was out cold.
It's all this guy's fault. You're the idiot who fell for it.
Kuga-san, unable to grasp the current situation, asks me what was going on. However, even this is a player, so I have to share information and opinions with him, but his attitude is making me feel very unmotivated. I'm already feeling hungry and I'm already a little dizzy. My body is shriveled up due to the fact that I used an inordinate amount of physical strength in the previous battle, and all the muscles in my body are creaking and twitching. My energy is depleted, and I am tempted to take in some calories right now, but that will have to wait. So Katona-chan, my name is Arthur, and I'd like to make friend. Let me talk to this guy first. I don't think I'm supposed to be talking to a Butao.
Quote. Arthur, the demon in suspicious mode, approached Kuga-san and said that he wanted to be friends with Kuga-san. The situation had been extremely tense until a few minutes ago, and she would only be drawn in by such an attitude. And Arthur is the name of the player at the time of Dun X, not the name of this demon. And he still feel like he is a Dun X player.
It's important for you too, so come over here for now. I call the unfaithful demon to a corner of the hall and says as if to remind him, when I first met him here, I thought he was a man who couldn't talk, but from what I know of him in Dun X, he's a man who listens in his own way. I believe him and try to persuade him. You see, this is the world we live in. This world we are in is Dun X itself, but it's not a game anymore. We're in a bloody and dangerous world. No game? I don't think so. Well, it's a different kind of game, it's more realistic, and the feeling of defeating monsters is more vivid. But it's just like Dun X, isn't it? Looking around, Arthur says that the halls, the skills, and the monsters are all just like Dun X. The system and setting are Dun X itself, but he never admits that it's still real.
If you talk to Mama-san, Kuga-san, and other people from now on, you will understand that they are not NPCs at all. People in this world are struggling to stay grounded, just like in the original world.
If you don't try to change your mind that this world is a game and people are all NPCs, it is impossible for you to join hands with them in the future. If they know who we are, we have to consider the possibility of killing each other again. This is a non-negotiable line for me. I'm not going to change my mind, but it's true, from what I saw of Akira and Katona, they didn't look like NPCs. I felt they were really alive. That's right, I'm going to explain what I'm going to say to you now based on that. I will explain everything I know so far in a nutshell.
This world may look like Dun X, but it is the real world. The general dungeon knowledge of the residents here is the same as it was at the beginning of Dun X's service. The updated contents are almost unknown to the public. Because of this, even top adventurers are stuck at level 30 or so, unable to use gates. The world situation has become chaotic and unbalanced due to physical enhancements. There are other players here besides you and me. I'll give you a quick explanation.
They don't even know the gates, and the jobs are still the same as they were at the beginning of the service?
Yes, can you imagine how much player knowledge is worth? I've been in the dungeon since I got here, so I didn't know if that's why I've been waiting in my castle on the 38th floor for so long and no adventurers have visited me.
He waited in my castle to ask for help from adventurers to get out of the dungeon, but no one ever came to visit him. The demon, now that he understood why that was the case, was crestfallen, his shoulders slumped. And players, aren't you the only one? Disaster.
There are other players besides me, but I can't tell you that right now and I also can't tell you how many people are here.
Just tell me this, Akira, is she a player? Maybe, I don't know. Arthur puts his hand on his chin and ponders. He may look like this, but in his game days, he led the AKK, a large-scale strategy clan that competed for the first and second place in Dun X. He was a well-known player in the Dun X community, and was even known by the nickname, Flash. I have fought against him several times in Dun X, and I have to admit that he is a top-notch player, both in terms of his individual abilities and the achievements he has made leading his clan. However, the AKK clan has another face.
Akira is neither a player nor an NPC. Could that be you? You know what I mean, right?
Arthur suddenly starts spinning around in circles, unable to contain his excitement as he starts to hoe in his own world. By the way, AKK is an acronym for Akira Kudo's Knights. In short, it is a clan made up of Amama's fans.
Whenever there was an event related to Tenma-san, all activities as a strategy clan and official management events were abandoned, and all clan members donned special uniforms and rushed to the event like crazy. Arthur even held the position of Führer for Tenma-san, and Dun X players were horrified to see his fan activities, which could be described as fanatical beyond enthusiasm.
The real Akira-chan is really alive. Isn't this my chance? I'll definitely protect Hef. Calm down. Amama-san hasn't been uncursed yet, so if you get too close to her, you'll only make a bad impression on her. Oh, you haven't lifted the curse yet? I'd like to do something about it and give her a hint, but it's a miracle that you even made it here. It would be best to avoid approaching her carelessly. Akaji, that ugly, handsome protagonist, but there's nothing to be afraid of. Without strength he is a piece of cake. I am starving, so don't talk about cake. Either way we'll talk about it later. You understand this, don't you? So there are a lot of people out there who are after dungeon information. I see, it looks so bad out there. And since this is also important, I would like to ask him about it. Arthur, you don't have any strange skills, do you? Like the one with the debuff effect that you can't turn off? Theirs is one. I had forgotten about it because I never activated it, but the first time I saw you with Akira, I was so jealous that I almost snapped. I was surprised at the emotion that welled up in me at that moment. So the crazy look in his eyes when he first appeared was due to his debuffing skill. It is difficult to control this debuff effect with one's mental strength. I can't help but say that I've experienced that firsthand myself. Even if Arthur were to go out there, it's obvious that he would get into trouble if he was to be willing to kill every time he witnessed someone with Tenma-san. I might as well tell him how to deal with it quickly. Can we suppress this with a flexible aura? I'll explain how to do it later, but you'd better learn that skill before we meet again. Otherwise, you won't be able to go out there. Before we meet again? Wait a minute. Are you going to leave me in the dungeon? With tears in his eyes, he tries to drip a wavering, high-density open double-angle bracket aura close double-angle bracket. But I have my own preparations to make, and I have things I want to look into, things that are convenient for me. I'm sorry, but I'm going to ask him to bear with me for a little while.
I will give you this as a means of communication. I'll also register the magic here on the 20th floor, so you can see me whenever you want to.
What is this? Is it a watch? It's like a smartphone. I'll be in touch with you, so keep it with you. I'll ask Obaba how to get to you. At least let me talk to Akira-chan. TL. We have a true simp among us. While we were talking, Tenma-san returned with the chief butler, Ms. Kurosaki, who was dressed in a maid's uniform. As soon as the chief butler came in, she was surprised to see the tattered Sato hall. What is going on? What happened? There are a lot of things going on, but I can't say that until I discuss it with Narumi. Oh, about that child. Amama-san points to Arthur and introduces him to the head butler. I looked at her to see what Jay was going to do, and she said she wanted to hire him as a bodyguard in the Tenma household. Before I knew it, they were talking about that. I think he's very strong and kind. I don't know about his origins.
There's something going on. Hey, there kid. I'll be sure to talk to you about it later.
The chief butler glares at me sharply, but turns back to Arthur and suddenly gives him a kind look. I was on the street when the young lady found me and saved my life. If you two have nowhere to go, you are always welcome.
I believe you'll be able to find your way back to your home. Amama gently stroked Arthur's head as he shed large tears and repeatedly called out, thank you. Ever since he came to this world, he had been trapped in a dungeon. It must have been hard for him not to be able to meet anyone while he was in an unstable state of mind, not knowing why. If I could help him right now, I would, but I need to prepare myself and I have someone I want to talk to. So I ask for his patience for a little while longer.
Thank you, Akira, but I can't go with you right now because I can't get out of the dungeon yet. If I can get out someday, I may ask you to help me again. Of course, I'll be there to pick you up when you find a way out. We will teach you the Black Butler's way from the beginning so that you can become a butler worthy of Our Lady. Arthur is smiling and being strong in front of Amama and the butler chief, but he will be lonely if he is alone again. I'll be there to talk to him then, so I'll tell him to give me a call or something. Well then, let's go home. This concludes my class competition. Every part of my body is screaming because of the unexpected events that have happened in succession. I want to take a rest as soon as possible, but there are so many things to look into and think about. I want Arthur to pay me back with interest since I am not being paid for all this effort.
Next to me, Kuga-san, who had a fixed look in her eyes, was silently pulling at my clothes, and from behind, the chief butler in a maid's uniform was staring at me with a glare, as we finally left the hall where the long battle had continued.
Chapter 98 Tachiki's Decision. Naoto Tachiki's Point of View. Disqualified. Why? I received a message from Kaworu saying that the Total Magic Stone group had been put up for deliberation. So we had a group chat using the terminal with me, Kaworu, and Mishima. When they asked why they were disqualified, they were told that they were disqualified because they were helped out with unauthorized help. Are you saying that all the other helpers in the class were registered? Apparently so. I was shown the roster, and the names of Kaga and Sorrel from the Brocade Club were also on it.
Kaworu affirms with her eyes downcast. It is true that they did get a helping hand from the masked helper, but that was in response to the violence when they were attacked by the monster train and when Omiya was almost abducted. Does the fact that he was able to jump over them count as a helping hand? The existence of the helper rule does not allow for a fair examination. So, no matter what I said, the class competition management headquarters didn't listen to me.
From the looks of it, disqualification is almost a certainty. Even if you miraculously avoid disqualification, there is little time left to hunt for the demon wolves. In other words, our class competition is effectively over. The class leader, Mishima, frowns even more dourly. Our designated quest group was doing reasonably well, but even if we were good in just this one event, we would still be far behind the D class. With only a little time left, there was nothing more we could do. It's too bad, because we were so close to possibly winning. The helper rule was absurd, to be sure, but there were some positives to be gained from this class competition.
While Kaworu was disappointed, Mishima was surprisingly positive. He said, "We have learned that we have a very talented team like Omiya, and the morale of the E-class is high, so we were able to work together better than I thought we could during the long group activities." He says that now that he had at least a good feel for the competition, he felt confident that he could do even better in the next round of class competition.
But a loss is a loss. There is no way to move on from that fact. My fists clenched unintentionally in frustration. But as a thinker, I must not become heated. No matter what the situation, I must remain calm and keep looking for a way to turn things around. We are not going to be able to do anything about it. We will assume the next class competition and work until the end. X. I understand. The result was not good, but we will not lose next time. I'll let you know if I get any more information.
I shut down the communication on my ARM terminal, let out a breath, and turned back to Nita, who was watching behind me. She must have heard the group chat earlier as well, so I wanted to hear what she had to say in order to gather her thoughts.
The helper rule. Should we assume that the teacher kept quiet on purpose? It's hard to believe that it was just one teacher's decision, so it's more natural to think that such instructions were given to all of them. We are steadily getting stronger as we accumulate experience. However, the helper rule could destroy fair competition among students in an instant. This rule was originally introduced to prevent unforeseen circumstances from happening to the sons and daughters of important heirs, but it is being abused to beat the E-class. If we are looking ahead to the next class competition, we need to strengthen our classmates and do something about this helper rule, what the malice directed at. This is not limited to the helper rule. The same was true for last month's club recruitment ceremony and the duel fiasco, and I'm sure we'll continue to receive ill will at every turn. How do we deal with all of this? I think we can do something about all of this. For example, do we have a backup plan to counter the malicious intent? Even if it's the 8 dragons, are we dealing with even them? The actual enemy is not them, but rather the one backing them. The 8 dragons are the 8 major factions that run the Adventurers School: 1st Swordsmanship Club, 1st Magic Club, 1st Archery Club, Class A Alliance, Thief Research Club, and Student Council. Behind these factions are a series of bureaucrats, aristocrats, and large corporations, which exert a great influence on the school's operation. It was the 8 dragons who moved the upper management of the school to stop Mirai-sensei from following the helper rule. What kind of backing can we have against such a powerful opponent? It would be impossible for us to prepare it. However, Nita kept smiling. From the way she was smiling, she must have had an idea that the opponent was 8 dragons. And the means to do so. If that's the case, I'll take this opportunity to have her listen to my ideas too. The election for student body president is coming up soon, so the candidates will be competing against each other for the seat of the next student body president. The student body president election is an electoral event in which students vote to choose the student body president. However, voting is just a pretext. In reality, the student body president is determined by the balance of power among the 8 dragons. The student body president of this adventurer school is a special position that allows him or her to influence the school's administration and other factions. If one's faction were to produce a student body president, that group would be able to control the student council to their advantage and issue orders to the other 8 dragons. However, the position of the next student body president is not so easy to obtain. This is true even with the power of the 8 dragons. The 8 dragons are keeping a close eye on each other to make sure that no one faction is able to outflank them. Nevertheless, behind the scenes, there is probably a lot of maneuvering and bargaining going on within the 8 dragons. Soon a candidate will be chosen and we, the E-class, will be notified to vote for him or her. So how about we approach one of the 8 dragons and negotiate with them, using the E-class vote as a pretext? It's not that simple, you know. The other party is an aristocrat and they look down on the E-class. If we make a bad move, we might get not away with it.
Yes, but without that kind of determination, we'd never crawl up. This class war has really sunk in. We have been dropped into the depths of despair many times before. The malice has become even more intense and is sure to strike again in the future. 8 dragons is the one entity that E-class cannot avoid in order to move forward. Who will we approach? Even if we offer our votes, it will not be enough. Then, how far will they go to meet their demands? If negotiations fail and we are stared down, there is a possibility that we will be crushed to the ground. We would need to be able to act and make decisions as if we were threading a needle, and mistakes would not be tolerated. Under such pressure, will we really be able to grasp the best solution? But I know from past student body president elections that 8 dragons is not a monolith. There must be a breakthrough. I must thoroughly research, analyze, and put together what I can do, but it is impossible for me to do all of this by myself. That's why.
I am not strong enough on my own, but with Nida and Omiya, I think we can stand up to them. Will you lend me your strength? Yuma and the others would lend me their strength in return, and of course I would rely on them. However, the destination is the aristocratic society of the 8 dragons, a place where power and intrigue are swirling. We would definitely like to borrow the wisdom of Nida and Omiya, who are capable of dealing with such an opponent appropriately and without fear. I looked into the gentle yet intelligent eyes behind the cute glasses and held out my hand, but Nida doesn't take my hand, just smiles and smiles. I wonder if I shouldn't do this, and reaching out to her is useless. Satsuki and I can help, but then I'd like Sota to be a part of it. What? Nida readily offers to help, but at the same time she mentions someone else's name. She sounds very trusting and friendly, but who exactly is this? Sota. That name sounded like the biggest barrier standing between me and Nida. Sota Narumi's point of view. I was so upset that we were disqualified from the competition. It's terrible to be disqualified. I didn't know that the assistant had to be registered. On the other side of the screen of my ARM terminal, I see Satsuki with a dissatisfied face and Lisa with a troubled face. At the moment, I am alone on the 12th floor in a certain desolate safe zone, facing the screen and talking. Information that even players don't know? I was aware that Hanano was participating as a helper, but I had no idea that registration was required. That's information that even I and Lisa, both players, didn't know. But in the game days, you couldn't call a helper without permission, so there was no way to know about it.
But I really don't know how to apologize to Sota for pushing Hano-chan too hard. No, it's okay. I gave Hanano the means to escape with no problem, as long her opponent is not too superior from her.
Before going to the interclass competition as a helper, my younger sister insisted on becoming a shadow walker. I had no choice but to stay up all night to help her collect job change items. It will be very difficult to catch Hanano now. I also gave her a quest to get a breakaway item, so she can just run away even against strong enemies without any problem.
However, according to Satsuki, the people she fought were members of the Kinrankai. The Kinrankai is a strong opponent that appears in the middle of the game's side story, but to have him appear so early in the game, something is not right. I thought Sorrel was the only D-class helper who appeared in the first class competition of the year.
I'm curious about the appearance of the Brocade Club, but I'm also curious about how skinny Sota is. Oh, a lot of things have happened. I remember those many things, and I can't help but look at him with a distant look in my eyes. I've lost a lot of weight because of it, and I'm still suffering from horrible hunger pangs. But that bastard. Never thought he would surprise me, and after that, he calls me every few hours, day and night, to find out what Amama-san is doing. There is a high possibility that she thinks now I am in stalker or something. Regardless of that, I went up to the 20th floor to find out what happened there and who I met. I want us to have time to talk about it later. I'd like to set some guidelines for the future.
Of course, but 20 floors is great. It's a lot of depth points to reach, isn't it?
It looks like we're tied for first place, so I wonder if that's going to happen. Well, if I just push it and say that I just followed everyone while being surrounded by guards, I'll get by. But that's not enough to get a good score. I guess we're losing after all. The helper rule is a problem. It seems that Tachiki-kun is planning something because of that. Is he going to do something? Before the student body president election in July, he is going to negotiate with some of the 8 dragons to see if he can get their backing with a handout of the classy vote. He asked Lisa to lend a hand in that process. It's true that if Lisa and Satsuki, who are both smart enough to know what they're doing, help out, the chances of a successful outcome increase. But what does he mean when he says that he needs my help?
Even before that there are several problems.
I thought we would need to be at a certain level to compete with the 8 dragons, but are you okay with that? I think Tachiki-kun and the others were still at level 6, it's worrisome that they're so far behind in leveling up. If we can't teach them the gate, I'd like to at least give them some power leveling. It is good that you can wield your eloquence with the weapon of voting rights against the 8 dragons. However, that alone would not be enough. The reason is that many of the 8 dragons and their surrounding clans are fast and brawny and are quick to get into fights, and persuading them often requires not only negotiation skills, but also strength. The recommended level of skill should have been 15 to 20. Even in the game, it was too much for a first-year student to handle at this stage. Despite this, Tachiki-kun, Kaworu, and the others were still at a low level. The inability to use gates made the travel time to the hunting grounds longer, and it was obvious that the rate of level increase would slow down even further. There are many events that only the main team can deal with, so it might be better to let them at least do some power leveling, as Satsuki said, in order for us to have a peaceful time. I'm always diving in dungeons with Satsuki, and I'm sure Tachiki-kun is aware of my level, so maybe it's better if just the two of us help him for now. That may be so. Lisa, let's work together. It's time for the announcement. If there's anything I can do to help, I'll help.
I promised to talk to her again later, and we hung up.
Even after the class competition is over, the election for student body president will be a troublesome event. If Dunax is taken in consideration, there will be many more troublesome events to worry about in the future. But before that, I think there was one more troublesome event right around the time when the class competition was over. Well, if I can't remember, it must not be a big deal. Looking at the time, the test period for the interclass competition had come to an end. By now, the results should have been announced at the Adventurers Guild Plaza. I could watch the live video from my terminal, but I was too tired to do so. The scores of the progress weren't very good either. I'm starving. I slowly lie down and stretch my arms and legs. Since this is a map where the undead are everywhere, the sky is gloomy and the clouds are swirling around eerily. Still, unlike the cave map, there is a sense of openness. Nearby, the B class seems to have started playing with skeletons. They are very energetic. Well, the only thing I have to do is to carry the luggage. I'll just go home. What's this? Dozens of notifications started coming in at once to the terminal on my arm. The notifications were ringing continuously, and Kaworu and Mishima even called me. Something seems to have happened. I decided to turn it off and ignore it, since it was a hassle anyway.